அரசு அரசு நல்லதுப்பா.
ஓகே.
ஆரம்பிச்சிடலாம். நீங்க ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ணிடுறீங்களா?
போட்டுட்டேங்க. ரெக்கார்ட் போட்டுட்டேன். அரசையாவை மட்டும் அன்மியூட் பண்ணி விட்டுறேன். மற்றவங்களாம் மியூட். நிகழ்ச்சியின் தொடக்கமாக தமிழ்தாய் வாழ்த்து அரசையா பாடுவார்.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்த கிழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே நின் சீரிழமை திறன் வியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே.
அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். சென்ற வாரம் வந்து நம்ம கிராமட்டிக்கல் ஃபீச்சர்ஸ் எல்லாத்தையும் திருப்பி பார்க்கலாம் அப்படின்னு முடிவு செய்து அதெல்லாம் திருப்பி பார்த்துட்டு இருந்தோம். அப்போ நம்ம வந்து கொஞ்சம் பேராசைப்பட்டு 5 பேரையும் ஒரே நாள் பேச வைக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி போன வாரம் பண்ணோம். அதில் வந்து பார்த்தோம்னா 3 பேர் முடிக்கிறதுக்கே வந்து 2 மணி நேரம் ஆயிடுச்சு. ஏன்னா நிறைய தகவல்கள் இருந்தது, நிறைய கேள்விகள் இருந்தது. அதனால வந்து அடுத்து பேச வேண்டிய 2 பேருக்கும் தனித்தனியாகவே வந்து அவங்க பேசினா நல்லா இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு வந்து முடிவு செஞ்சு இன்னைக்கு வந்து வாகிசன் நம்மகிட்ட பேச இருக்காங்க. வாகிசன் பேச எடுத்துக்கிட்ட தலைப்பும் வந்து ரெட்ரோஃப்ளெக்ஸ் அண்ட் ஆஸ்பிரேட்டட் சவுண்ட்ஸ். அவர் கொடுத்துருக்க தலைப்பு வந்து phonetic comparison of phonemes in Tamil and Sanskrit using IPA. அந்த டாப்பிக்கில் இன்னைக்கு பேச இருக்காரு. நம்ம ஏற்கனவே அவரோட ஸ்லைட்ஸையும் நம்மகிட்ட பகிர்ந்துக்கிட்டதுனால எவ்வளோ இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்காக இருக்க போகுதுன்றது முன்கூட்டியே நம்ம எல்லாருக்கும் தெரியும். அவர் பேசுறதுக்கு முன்னாடி அவரை வந்து முறையாக அறிமுகப்படுத்திடுறேன். Vahees is a software architect with an undergraduate degree in computer science. Born and raised in Sri Lanka, he migrated to Canada after the Civil War, bringing with him a global perspective shaped by resilience and curiosity. His interests span technology, linguistics, culture, and history, and he enjoys exploring how these fields intersect to drive innovation and deepen human understanding. With this, let's welcome Vahees. Please get started.
Okay, thank you, Bama, and thank you everyone for another opportunity to share my passion and interest in this space. Let me.
You can put Control L to make it full screen, right? This is Adobe Reader. Is it?
Yes, 1 second. I'm going to minimize the.
No, if you put Control L, it will come in full screen mode.
Oh, I see.
Control L. You didn't?
Perfect. Okay. All right. So, phonetic comparison of Tamil and Sanskrit using IPA. IPA stands for International Phonetic Alphabets. It's a global standard. I will go into the details of the definitions, but because we started the presentation in Tamil, I want to give a bit of an introduction in Tamil as well. Tamil ஒலியியல் தான் லிங்குவிஸ்டிக்ஸ், ஃபோனட்டிக் பேஸ்ட் லிங்குவிஸ்டிக்ஸை ஒலியனியல் என்று சொல்லலாம். ரெட்ரோஃப்ளெக்ஸ் வந்து வளை ஒலி, அதுதான் எங்களோட தமிழ் முறையில் அதோட இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷன். அதெல்லாம் எப்படி ஒன்றோடு கனெக்டட், எப்படி ஒரு ஒலி பிறக்குது, அந்த ஒலி பிறப்பிலேருந்து எப்படி ஒவ்வொரு மொழியிலேருந்தும் ஒவ்வொரு ஒலி எண்கள் phonetics are different அப்படின்றது எல்லாத்தையும் பார்க்கலாம். ஸோ some disclaimers before I get started. I'm not a linguistics expert and Tamil is my mother tongue English is my second language, but I'm not proficient in Tamil grammar either. Sanskrit is completely alien to me. I'm just learning it for this presentation purpose. And there are elements of AI in this presentation as well. I've done my best to check for errors, but some errors may remain. If you find anything, please let me know in any of our communication mechanisms that we have established already. I wish to express my gratitude to Mr. K. Rajaratnam, whom I have been in contact quite recently, who has introduced this topic to me in great detail. He has published a book and he does courses as well. Through that course only, I came to know how Tamil can be taught as a second language. In the same manner that how they teach English as a second language, he's taking a linguistics approach to the course. And that has actually helped me come into this topic of today's presentation and give you guys all of this. If I have made any errors, this is my standard thing on the left. All errors are mine, not the authors or anybody else. Okay, so this is the high-level big picture view of the scientific study of language. Last time we looked at semantics. Sridevi did an awesome job on explaining how the sentences are formed, what are the elements of a sentence, how they vary, how that connection works, and how they give meaning to a sentence. So semantics and syntax. Especially she focused on syntax, but eventually it gave the semantics of the sentence. Today we are going to the roots of it, the phonetics and phonology part, and then eventually it will lead into morphology. I haven't gone into any of the morphology stuff. That is about building words from the sounds. But that's another completely different topic itself. I'm going to be focusing today on just the phonetics part mainly, and some of the differences on how language organizes the sound, the phonology part. The one example that shows up here is P versus B. We will get into the details of how these sounds are produced in your mouth. We will go into the details of that. I have lots of examples to outline that. Okay. So to begin with, there are standardized speech organs that have been recognized by the experts in the field. And the ones that I have listed here are the key ones. And also in terms of sound production, there are other elements involved in the entire body, which are not captured here. But if you take a formal study in linguistics, they will talk about how air is coming out from your body and coming through the air passage and coming out as sounds. But there could be sounds that made when you intake air as well. Those are not considered here. This is the whole presentation here is focused on harmonic air based sounds. மூச்சு உள்வாங்கல் இல்ல, மூச்சு வெளியில வர்றதுல இருந்து வர்ற சவுண்ட்ஸ் எப்படி இருக்க போகுதுன்றதை மட்டும்தான் பார்க்க போறோம். அதை பேஸ் பண்ணி தான் இந்த ப்ரெசன்டேஷன் இருக்கு. ஸோ லிப்ஸ், இதழ் என்று சொல்லி தமிழை சொல்லுவோம். டீத், அல்வியோலர் ரிட்ஜ், உள்ளண்ணம், அந்த பல்லு தொடுற இடம். ஹார்ட் பலட், தி இன்சைட் பலட். சாஃப்ட் பலட் இஸ் த வீலம் வே அட் த பேக். அண்ட் யூவியூலா, இந்த உள்நாக்கு என்று தமிழை சொல்றது. இது எல்லாமே சவுண்ட் ஆர்கன்ஸ் கன்சிடர் பண்ணப்படும். அதை விட நாக்கு, tongue also plays an important role, and on the tongue itself, they have divided the tongue into separate sections, and each one is responsible for making certain sounds. So they want to recognize that, and also the glottis, the vocal cords, குரல் நான் என்று சொல்லுவோம், അതിൻ്റെ அதிர்வுகளும் it also contributes to the sound. So generally speaking, we all think that sound is made when the vocal cord vibrates, but not so, not necessarily. Vocal cord vibrate பண்ணிக்கல வர்ற sounds vocalized sounds என்று சொல்லி சொல்லுவோம். Unvocalized sounds are also there. Most of the Tamil language, we will see that in the coming up slides coming up. Many of the Tamil consonants are unvocalized. They don't involve the vocal cord. We will go into the details of that. But in terms of classifying or structurally putting the linguistics part, place of articulation is basically where we touch or invoke the sound from in the mouth. And then the manner of articulation is how we do that. There are different classifications again for that one. It's all very intensive and interesting. I will go into the details in the coming up slides. But just to be clear in here, parts of speech, not parts of speech, the speech organs and how the sound is made is mainly revolving around these two concepts. So place of articulation and manner of articulation is very, very important, and we will see why that is the case. So IPA, as I indicated in my title of the presentation, stands for International Phonetic Alphabet. And why do we need such an alphabet?
Good question. What is
Sure.
manner of articulation meaning?
தமிழில் அதுக்கு முயற்சி பிறப்பு என்று சொல்லி சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ அதாவது ஒரு சவுண்டை என்ன விதமாக நாங்கள் வெளியில் கொண்டு வரோம்ன்றது. சே ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள், அது அடுத்த செக்ஷனில் வருது, பட் ஐ வில் கிவ் அ குவிக் ஒன் ஹியர். தேர் ஆர் திங்ஸ் கால்ட் ப்ளோசிவ்ஸ் ஆர் ஸ்டாப்ஸ் என்று சொல்லி சொல்லுவாங்க. அதை தடை ஒலிகள் என்று தமிழில் சொல்லுவோம். which means the air that is coming out is stopped in your mouth and then released. So, pa and solleka, pa and release paneka, that's a manner of articulation that involves both the lips. So, it's a labial articulation that involves a plosive air. So likewise, every sound can be categorized in these two ways of articulation. We will see that in the examples, but if you have more questions, I think once we go through the examples, you will get an idea. There are, I think, about 6 or 7 manners of articulation, and then place of articulation also differs. I have given the full list here.
Thank you.
So why do we need that is because every language evolved by just making sounds first. So we all know that பேச்சு மொழி உருவானது தான் முதல், அதுக்கு பிறகுதான் எழுத்து வந்திருக்கும். அந்த வகையில் எழுத்துல ஒரு விஷயத்தை அதை கேப்சர் பண்ணிக்கல. ஒவ்வொரு சமுதாயமும் ஒவ்வொரு குடிமக்களும் அதை வெவ்வேறு விதமாக கேப்சர் பண்ணிக்கலாம். எவ்ரி சிவிலைசேஷன் மைட் ஹேவ் கேப்சர்ட் இன் அ டிஃப்ரெண்ட் நோட்டேஷன் of the sounds of their language. There is no universality for that. Hence, if we wanted to understand and compare languages, there has to be a common denominator. And IPA is that common denominator. It basically captures all the sounds in the world. I want to put all in double quotes because there are some reservations, even between Tamil and Sanskrit and English also. I will come into that in my slides. Though it says that it captures the whole thing, but there are subtle differences. They have tried to come close enough to come up with a common notation for the sounds, but they're not perfect. So just keep that in mind and take it with a grain of salt. So for example, the one that I have put up here is a perfect example between Sanskrit and Tamil. So in Tamil, it's always ka, but there are ucharikekla, we tend to go along with ka, sometimes with the h coming in, depending on where the usage of the ka is. But in Sanskrit, they have characters or letters specific for these special sounds that come with the vocal part ga or ha with a aspirated version of it. So how do we capture this variation is a question. So if you wanted to compare Tamil and Sanskrit, there is no common way to say this. And that's why IPA is important, because IPA is a superset that has pretty much all the sounds in all the languages in the world. And they have put that in a table with the manner of articulation and the place of articulation as a chart. And they have given notations to that. This is what you will find in dictionaries. When you pronounce a word, they would have put the IPA way of explaining the pronunciation. So if you know this, we all can come to a common notation to understand how every word should be produced. So this is again going into the details of what I just explained. It is based on articulation. So some of the vowels are long, some of them are short. We have that notation in Tamil and all the Indian languages, but they don't have that in English. So for example, my name is Vahees and it's Vaheesan, but everybody pronounces that wrong because there is R notation is not there in English. So everybody will go Vaheesan. Because I have put double E, they go EE, but for my A part, they shorten it. But if I were to put my name in the IPA form, if everybody knew IPA, they would be able to pronounce it perfectly. So that's the whole idea. And all these IPA notations have these double strokes on it. So that's another convention. And this is, like I said, is what you will find in all the dictionaries and linguistic researches, especially when you are comparing two languages. So one symbol, one sound. That's the objective here for IPA. It's a global system that everybody has agreed. Any questions so far? Okay, let me move. So
one question,
yeah,
Vaheesan. Very naive kind of question. The previous slide. Can you go to the previous slide?
Sure. இதுக்கு முதலா
yeah. Say ka is even though we have how ga yung kutal ka, we don't say ka. We have the ga sound also, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. I have a lot of examples on that one. I think we have Maniaya also on the call. So I think this is going to get interesting. So let's talk about that. So yeah, I will get into that. Okay. So to answer your question, in short, Tamil has no aspiration. So அந்த காத்தோட சேர்ந்து வர்ற ஒலி வந்து தமிழ்ல இல்லை, டெக்னிக்கலி தொல்காப்பியப்படி இல்லை. ஆனால் சொல்ல அமைப்புல சில இடங்கள்ல முன்னுக்கு பின் அந்த எழுத்துக்கள் வர்ற இடங்களை பொறுத்து அது இயல்பாவே அந்த சத்தம் வருது என்றதுதான் தமிழுண்ட ஒரு நிலைப்பாடு. ஆனா சமஸ்கிருதத்துல அப்படி இல்லை. அது எங்க வருதுன்னு சொல்லி சொன்னா, ஐ டோன்ட் திங்க் ஐ புட் திஸ் தட் ஒன் இன் ஹியர் இன் த பிரசன்டேஷன். அதை அலஃபீன்ஸ் என்று சொல்லி சொல்லுவாங்க. ஐ திங்க் ஐம் ப்ரொனவுன்சிங் தட் ரைட். ஸோ ஒரு சவுண்ட் வேரியேஷனால ஒரு சொல்லுண்ட பொருள் மாறுபடுமா இருந்தால் இட் இஸ் சிக்னிஃபிகண்ட். அண்ட் சன்ஸ்கிரிட்ல அது இருக்குது. இந்த ஹ போட்டு நீங்க ஒரு சொல்லி சொல்றதுக்கும் க போட்டு ஒரு சொல்லி சொல்றதுக்கும் ரெண்டும் வேற விதமான சொல்லுகளை உங்களுக்கு உருவாகும். தமிழ்ல அப்படி இல்லை. காகம் என்று நீங்க சொன்னாலும் அது காகம்தான், காக்கம் என்று சொன்னாலும் அது காகம்தான், காகம் என்று சொன்னாலும் அது காகம். So if somebody makes a mistake even doing that, we all know that it means the crow. So that is why we don't have a separate character to capture that. But in Sanskrit, it's not so. Hope that clarifies a little bit, but we'll go with more examples later.
The question I have is, this IPA is a evolving database, or is it
No,
something-
I don't think so. It has, well, they have versions of the table on Wikipedia saying updated on 2020 or something, but I don't know where they do the updates. But in terms of sounds, they have pretty much concluded that they have explored all the languages. So I think coming down, I have the full chart here. So this is the full chart. If you see that the gray ones are the ones where they think that sound cannot be humanly possible.
Mhm.
And the empty ones are the ones where they don't have an example of that sound. So I don't know, maybe there could be a tribal language where if somebody does a research and figure out that there is a sound that they are making which is not mapped here, they might land in any one of these spots. But so far, they feel that it is complete.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So types of sound, we have vowels and consonants. So what is the main difference? Even I didn't know that when until I got into this field. Vowels apparently are sounds that are made without any interruption as they come out from our lungs. So there is no interruption in or blockage to the air when it comes. So that's all vowel. But Sanskrit differs a bit in that one. We will go into that in the next few slides. But in most other languages, including Tamil, vowel, which is உயிரொலிகள் என்று நாங்கள் appropriately we have called it, because air, உயிர், மூச்சு காத்து, உயிரொலிகள் தடைப்படாமல் வர்றதுதான் உயிரொலிகள். அந்த உயிரொலிகள் the sounds of the vowels can be classified using 3 axes. And that's what they have done here. We can go into details of this one. Like, I don't want to take the entire presentation into the pronunciation part. I will try not to go into those details, but the essence of it is the tongue height is one factor. The other one is tongue position, whether it's in the front, central, or back. As you can see here, this is the front part, and there is a nice video that I saw. I will share that later on in the group. If you close your eyes and say ah, your tongue will go down. But then when you say e, it comes to the front and it's shorter. The gap is shorter. So that's what this diagram is trying to portray here. And also lip rounding is another attribute or another axis that they have used to classify the sounds of vowels. So English vowels, as you can see, though we all say that A, E, I, O, U, 5 are the actual vowels, in terms of phonetics, it's actually 12, if I'm not mistaken. And there are 7 and 5 in total, 12. Those are the vowel sounds. And some of them are not there in Tamil. The way Tamil works is very different. But for this sound, for example, a is not there in Tamil. That's why apple is apple in Tamil. We cannot say apple because a sound, this one, A and the E, is not there in Tamil. So you could start to appreciate this table now, because in order to capture the world language sounds, there needs to be a common phonetic system. And that's what they have done with IPA. Tamil has, I have a separate chart here only for Tamil. We will go into that. And எங்களோட உயிரொலிகள் எல்லாமே இதே மெத்தட்ல ஈஸியா கேப்சர் பண்ணப்படலாம். Similar thing with consonants. The difference between vowel and consonants are always the air is interrupted. So மூச்சு காத்து ஒலி தடைப்படும். அதான் மெய் எழுத்துக்கள் characteristic. So the consonants வாய்ப்பிரிக்கேக்கல again 3 axes are being used in the system. One is the place of articulation, the other one is the manner of articulation, and then the voicing part. In the voicing part, they have also included aspiration, like in Sanskrit. Some languages also have aspirated sounds. So voicing involves the vocal cords and the aspiration part. The other two, the major ones, are the place of articulation and the manner of articulation. So most languages fit in here. I want to give a word of caution here. Even though we say like Tamil and Sanskrit all map perfectly into this one, it's not exactly perfect. Like only it was a revelation to me as well in the last few days that I have realized that it comes very close to that, but it's not perfect. I will tell you why when we go into the details of Tamil. The places of articulation are all divided based on our mouth. We call that the vocal tract and the nasal path. So nasal sounds are also possible. Did I capture that part, or is it coming up? 1 second. It's here. So places of articulation, this is the exhaustive list. Bilabial are 2 lips. Libodental are the bottom lip and the top part of the teeth. Interdental is right behind the teeth. பல்லும் அன்னமும் தொடுற இடத்துல இருக்கிறதான் interdental. Alveolar is right behind it, and it goes little behind each step. Palatal is a little bit further behind, velar is even further behind, and glottal is adithondekal, and that is produced in the larynx, very close to the vocal cords, and we don't have anything in Tamil for that one to really understand as Tamilians. But the other ones we will see how Tamil language fits into that, and also Sanskrit as well. One thing to note here, there is a distinction done in most of the literature between apical stops and laminal stops. It basically nuni and அந்த நுனிக்கு பின்னால இருக்கிற any part of the tongue or இடைனா அல்லது நுனினான்றதுல very difference இருக்கு. I think I want to highlight that part here in this part. The tip of the tongue and the blade. Laminal is the blade, the side part of it. Tip of the tongue is different, and then front and back are all also involved in producing some parts of the sound. Some sounds in some languages. There's a lot of material. I know this could be overwhelming to begin with, but bear with me. Once we go into the examples, it'll all make sense. So this is all just the theory for now. In terms of manner of articulation, again, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. This is like I explained, the way we produce or the way we manage the air in our mouth or nose in making that sound. That's the manner of articulation. Tamil exact word, I think, muyachi purappu. I think I've provided a link here. There are so many videos on this one because this has been standardized. If you go to YouTube and type IPA, you will get enough. I haven't really found anybody explaining Tamil in IPA. maybe this video will be a landmark video. But there are some for Sanskrit. I think some people have done it, but not quite a lot, at least in my search. But for other languages, especially if you learn, there are videos that teach IPA-based English in Tamil as a medium of explaining. There are those videos, basically Tamil Nadu people teaching English in this method to students. Those videos are there. So, but they will immediately branch into the English alphabets. They will not go into the Tamil alphabet. But it's an interesting area, definitely. I think, especially people like me who are more concerned about the next generation of people, the diaspora picking up Tamil, want to focus on how this can be helpful in learning Tamil to English-speaking students. So that's my curiosity, anyways. So stops are complete air block. Fricative are sort of halfway. Affricate consonants, I don't know how that is very different, but probably it's by definition it says briefly stopping the airstream and then completely. Nasal, we are all familiar with. Mellinam, angada Tamil, varra nganyana namana, all ellame nasal sounds. There are things called liquid consonants and glide. Glide ku sariyana Tamil, I think mayakam, if I'm not mistaken. But some of these manners of articulation can be easily explained in Tamil. Some of them cannot be. Like I said, this is a global system. So if you are not familiar with any language that has that feature, it will be very hard to understand. Like while watching these videos, I found that Arabic has some sounds which are completely alien to us. Like I don't think I'll ever be able to pronounce those sounds. And we see that in our day-to-day life as well. If a child is brought up in a completely English environment, Tamil sounds will become very difficult for them because their tongue is not used to making those contact points as they grew. And it'll be much difficult later on in their life to make that. And that's why you find most Western scholars who pick up any Indian languages have a weird way of pronouncing because they're trying to make the connections right and they're trying to make the manners of articulations right, but still the nature is not allowing them because over their childhood, they haven't really practiced that enough for their tongue to make those connections. So this is the IPA chart in its entirety. The vowel section is here. These are all possible vowel sounds in the world. And these are all the phonetic consonant sounds in the world. I wanted to highlight a couple of sounds here. One, so the reason I did that is because our focus is on retroflexion, and as Tamils, we are all interested in the l sound. In writing most of the Tamil or any English text, we use the Z notation or ZH notation for the Tamil special L. But I wanted to give a word of caution here. In the IPA, that's not the standard. So you will not find a Z here, or the Z here is an alveolar Z, which is a zebra Z. That's not the same. So love nanga pavikra Z, IPA standard la illa. That's something that I wanted to highlight. So IPA standard la irukra la is this one, the one over here. And the uppercase L like L is the L in English. So this is the English phonetic chart. So you will see that this is the simple L and they don't have a variation in L. but we do in Tamil. I have that explained in my charts on Tamil. But for now, that's the only one that I wanted to highlight. Like I said, on this axis, it goes by place of articulation, and this is the manner of articulation. And they have tried to capture these, and the phonetic chart here shows what these letters, or what sound these letters are, what do you call, representing. So, for example, the uppercase I with dot dot meaning an extension, nadil, is over here, and that is the E sound as in read. So this is the English way to learn it. And this is America. So sound, you can see it's somewhere here. And men is here. The E sound is here. So that's how, and then when you go into the consonants, P as it's the bilabial plosive sound, that's pig. And B is when you close your mouth, it's the same, but the difference. So, one thing that I wanted to highlight here, the P and B in the same spot, bilabial plosive. However, the difference is whether it's voiced or not. Anything that's on the left is not voiced. Anything that is on the right is voiced. So B is voiced, P is not voiced. There are two techniques that I have found to check if a sound is voiced or not. And you have to be a little careful with this because when you say a consonant, you have to make sure that you're only making a consonant sound without purposely invoking the voice. As soon as you put an attached to that, the is part of your vowel that will make the sound like a vocal sound, but it's not. So if you really wanted to test per, if you say per, you will see the vocal cord vibrating. You shouldn't do that. In order to understand the pa, you have to say that up sound is not going to make any vocal cord vibration. But do the same thing for b. You will see the vocal cord vibration. So that's the difference in vocal and non-vocal sounds. And another way to find out is close your ears and you will see the vocal cords vibrating when you do the b sound. So those are the two techniques to figure out whether something is voiceless or voiced. So that's the convention here. Anything on the left is voiceless. Anything on the right is voiced. And even in the TD sound, you will see that in Tamil we don't distinguish them, but in Sanskrit they do. So that's so Sanskrit is fully aspirated, fully vocal. They have variations on that. So for every sound, they have a counterpart to go with vocal and aspirated. So there is a 4 times 5 main key consonants. We will see that in the chart. I think that's pretty much it on this one. Any questions? All right, let's get going. So now we'll.
Our question and unmute பண்ணிட்டு கேளுங்க ஐயா.
Sure.
Even I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing is Sanskrit alone is following this aspirated and unaspirated sounds, or is there a family of languages which have this, and there is another family of languages which have this difference? Is there any group of families?
I'm pretty sure there is. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure there is, because that's why they have made that also into the classification or an axis. So the voicing and aspiration is an axis. I'm pretty sure there are other languages. I don't know of any though, but.
Will this, because when we classify languages, Sanskrit into Indo-European languages, So do they consider these voice sounds also? Is that how they classify? No, just I had a doubt. So would they
Yeah.
would
So
they would have analyzed these sounds also when they classify?
I think so, yeah, because that is why it is also an axis in the IPA. So they do distinguish sounds based on this one. So if it is only to a particular language, it wouldn't have really made it to a table, I think. So it's definitely a clear characteristic that they want to include in the classification. Oh, and I forgot to show you this little link here. I think I have that one. Let me see. Did I share? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and come back again because I think this is a cool site. You guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I found this site and it's, I don't know if you can hear the sound coming from the computer, but when I do, let me try that and please let me know if you can you hear it?
While sharing, you have to enable sound. You have to say share sound with sound.
Oh, I
Share
see.
can do it. Can share it again in the bottom left. You have it.
Yeah, can hear
Now
it.
we,
Yeah.
now we can hear a little bit.
Can you hear me now? Hear that now?
Yeah. No,
Can hear it, but in a very low tone.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this one shows how your tongue moves and produces all the sounds. When you have time, go to this site and play with it. You'll find it interesting. So if you put up here the lip sound closing, oops, the stops, and the nasals also work. So if you put your mouse over, you can see how the ngang, nya, all those sounds are made. It's pretty cool. This is the position of the tongue and where it hits soft palate, hard palate, the lip. So as you move around, you could see the sound difference. Okay, I'll stop sharing now, but I just wanted to show you. Somebody has made an effort to do that. Oops, it's still playing in the background for me. Let me close that.
I have a short question on your last slide.
Yes,
You
let me
you
bring
had
that
the
up.
IPA. Then the next one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. And the retroflex, since the talk is about retroflex, there are
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
Oops.
retroflex phonemes. And are you going to attempt to pronounce each one of them by any chance?
No.
Okay. All right.
I'm not. Especially
all
the
right.
fricatives are hard. I think this is where the struggle is going to be. I don't know how to do that. And obviously the Tamil ones, we all know how to do that. Even the Tamil one, it's not perfect. I keep saying this because it was so revealing to me because in Tamil, I'm going to say that it's coming up in my slide, but I will say it here as well. தமிழ்ல தொல்காப்பியத்துல வருடல் என்ற ஒரு சவுண்ட் இருக்கு. Why don't I just quickly go to that one? This one. ஒற்ற புறக்கும் தடவ புறக்கும் என்று தொல்காப்பியர் சொல்லியிருக்கிறார் சில சவுண்ட்ஸ். ஒன் இஸ் த டச்சிங் ஒன், தி அதர் ஒன் இந்த தடவ புறக்கும். இந்த தடவ புறக்கும் என்றது ஐபிஏல இருக்கிற மாதிரி எனக்கு தெரியல. You need to sort of, தடவரண்ட மேல் அன்னத்துல அப்படி ல is actually go to the back. It's not just touching the back. அந்த பேக்ல டச் பண்ணிட்டு you have
Glide.
to slide
It's
it.
a glide, right?
But it's not the same glide that they say in the vowel glide.
Right. But the
Vowel glide is when you move from one sound to the other sound. It's a diphthong sort of thing.
Yeah, very good observation. In fact, இந்த ரெட்ரோஃப்ளெக்ஸ்ல வந்து நம்ம டா வந்து ரெட்ரோஃப்ளெக்ஸ்னு சொல்லுவோம். Some
Yes,
scholars say it is not
it's not.
retroflex
Yes,
because
correct,
yeah, it's
correct.
not retroflex ன்னுவாங்க. அப்படின்னா தமிழ்ல 4 ரெட்ரோஃப்ளெக்ஸ் ஃபோனியம் தான் இருக்குதுன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க.
Correct.
ஆனா சான்ஸ்கிரிட்ல 8 9 இருக்குதுன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க இல்லைங்களா? 7 8 or something like that.
Yes, again, a similar problem exists. So, for example, so the one you said is exactly right, sir. In the turn, மெய்கலம் நாக்கின் நுனியும் அன்னத்தின் நுனியும் தான். So it's actually the alveolar தான் வருது. It's not actually going to the palatal. But for anything to be retro, I think the classification is different or the segmentation is different. So when they did the IPA thing, it's too broad of a segmenting. But Tamil and Sanskrit only divides the upper part of the mouth into 5 sections, if I'm not mistaken, maximum 6. So IPA, there is much more. And Panini grammar, I think, if I'm not mistaken, says cerebral. That one has no direct mapping in the IPA. It sort of falls in between that segmentation. So I guess that's probably why they're not able to come to a perfect understanding on where these things land. Another thing between Sanskrit and Tamil that I want, because the topic came up, I'll just say it here. Ut and ind. If you look at the charts, it will say dental. But in here, தொல்காப்பியர் சொல்றார் பல்லின் நெருங்கிய உட்புறத்தில் inside நாக்கின் நுனி அகன்று மெய்யுறும்படியாக ஒற்றப்புறாக்கும். But in Sanskrit, from what I know, tha is a fully dental sound between your between the two teeth. Ta. But in Tamil it's not. But they classify it under the same column.
Interesting. இந்த ஸ்லைட் நீங்க காட்டுறீங்கல்ல, very important slideங்க. I find it to be totally
I only put it last night. I thought it will be very
extremely important slide.
Right.
Okay, நீங்க கண்ணு தொடருங்க உங்களுடைய.
Okay. So comparing Tamil and Sanskrit, we have some differences, and the differences are subtle as well in some aspects, quite drastic in some aspects. So, for example, we both have stops and nasals. Aspirates are completely absent in Tamil, which we have spoken about. The alveolar tap, this is another one that I wanted to highlight. Rendu suli nana, n, is not there in Sanskrit. It's very unique to Tamil. Indula varra nana Sanskritla irukku. Na retroflex என்று சொல்லப்படுற 3 சுழி நானாவும் இருக்குது, தமிழ்லையும் இருக்குது, சன்ஸ்கிரிட்லையும் இருக்கு. பட் இந்த alveolar tapல வர்ற ந is not there. I have highlighted that in my slides here. Retroflexes are common, and then fricatives, the sh parts, are again something of Sanskrit. We don't have that in Tamil. Short and long is common. One thing to note about the diphthongs is that diphthongs என்று சொல்லி சொன்னா கூட்டொலி என்றதான் சரியான தமிழ் பதம். 2 சவுண்ட் ஒன்றா சேர்ந்து வர்றது தான் diphthongs என்று சொல்லி சொல்றது. It mostly comes in vowels. Some languages have that in consonants as well. Tamil, we have recognized them as separate characters or separate letters. For example, au, again, some people say it's a later on addition. பழைய இலக்கியங்கள்ல அவுக்கு ஆனா ஊனா தான் எழுதி இருக்குண்டு. But it's something to be researched. But even other sounds like o, தமிழ்ல தனி எழுத்து. சன்ஸ்கிரிட்ல ஓ நெடில் மட்டும்தான் இருக்கு, but they treat it as a diphthong. They don't treat it as a என்னன்னு சொல்லி சொல்றது monophthong. Retroflexes are common. Aspiration we have already seen. So these are some of the main differences between the two languages.
I have a quick question. தன்னகரம் நீ சொன்னீங்களே 3 சொல்லினா அது வந்து சமஸ்கிருதத்துல இருக்கு, ஆனா மற்ற இந்திய ஐரோப்பிய மொழிகளில் இல்லை. அதனால் அது வந்து திராவிட மொழிகள் இருந்து அந்த ஒலியை அவங்க எடுத்திருக்க வேண்டும் என்பது சில கருத்து நினைக்கிறேன். அதையும் we have to investigate.
And the comment George Hart makes is Indo-European languages, Proto-Indo-European languages did not have any retroflex phonemes. Right. All retroflex phonemes that are in Sanskrit are due to interaction with Dravidian speaking people, Dravidian language speaking people in India அப்படின்னு சொல்றாங்க.
பாரசீகத்திலேயே இல்லை, பெர்ஷியன்லயே இல்லைன்றப்பதான் வந்து that's stunning. Because they are the closest. Sanskrit and Persian are the closest languages. If something is absent in Persian but is present in Sanskrit, almost certainly it is borrowed from their interaction with the native people of India.
And the study research literature நிறைய இருக்குதுங்க. There is a lot of publications in that area of how phonemes have been absorbed. Alumanmillada Witzel from Harvard, I think, has looked at layers of Rig Veda and can date them based on the level of linguistic differences where there is a Dravidian language influence. For example, he would say Mandala 1 and 10 of Rig Veda were written much, much later, while 2 and 3 all the way up to 9 are earlier. Within them, there are some very ancient strata and some more modern ones. His papers are worthwhile looking into. Otto Witzel. I mean, not Otto, last name is Witzel. If you search under his name.
Yeah, I have quoted that in the reference here.
Right.
There's a similar study about... sorry, this is Gopi. There's a similar study about the same in Mahabharata also. The original words had only 10,000 or something like that. அதுக்கப்புறம் அது 25,000, அதுக்கப்புறம் 100,000. அந்த மூணுலையுமே சான்ஸ்கிரிட்டோட லாங்குவேஜ் வேற வேற. அந்த ஒரிஜினல் லாங்குவேஜ் வந்து அந்த 10,000ல இருக்கும். அப்புறம் எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் ஒரு பெங்காலி ஸ்காலர் ஒரு ஸ்டடி பண்ணார், அவர் பேர் எனக்கு ஞாபகம் இல்லை, பட் ஐ ட்ரை டு கெட் தட் அண்ட் ஷேர் இட். தட் வாஸ் another very interesting study that I read about the same evolution of the language. அந்த இன்ட்ராக்ஷன் ஆக ஆக அதுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி உங்க கதையை ஆட் பண்ணும் பொழுது லாங்குவேஜே அதுக்கு தகுந்த மாதிரி மாறி வருது அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி எழுதியிருப்பாரு. அது It was an interesting study.
What I wanted to say was, ஒகரம் மட்டும் கிடையாது, எகரமும் சம்ஸ்கிருதத்துல கிடையாது. எகர ஒகரம் ரெண்டுமே அவங்களுக்கு கிடையாது. ஏகாரம் ஓகாரம் ஷார்ட் இல்ல, குரில் கிடையாது அவங்களுக்கு. ஏகாரம் ஓகாரம் இருக்கு, எகர ஒகரம் இல்ல.
அது இதுல இருக்கு. This one. So இது I, OW, இது actually it should be with the double dot. In the particular diagram they didn't do that, but it's a long version. As you can see, it comes under the dirgha and O sounds தான் இருக்கு. O இல்ல, A-ம் இல்ல. தமிழ்ல எல்லாமே இருக்கு இங்கால on the left side. So this is the vowel comparison between Tamil and Sanskrit. This is again going back to the same the diagram that I showed for the IPA table, where Tamil maps in that IPA table. You can see is at the bottom, E, U, idanangada cardinal vowels and solluvangal, and then we also have the A and O, which are combinations of these. A, U, O, and then I is a E vandu nangal oru it's called a glide. It also maps here, though it is a consonant. தமிழ்ல அதுக்கு ஒரு பேர் இருக்கு, மறந்து போனேன், வருது இல்லை. ஈயும் இவ்வும் மயங்கொலிகள், இஃப் ஐம் நாட் மிஸ்டேக்கன். அவனுடைய தான் அதை இந்த சார்ட்ல கேப்சர் பண்ணியிருக்கு. This again, it's all on Padimulai Tamil. I'm learning still that one, but it's excellently captured in that book.
குற்றியலோகரம் தான் நடுவில் வருதா, ஷார்ட் ஊ சென்ட்ரல்?
குற்றியலுகரம் அது வந்து சொல்லுல தான் வருது. ஆனால் அதுவும் ஒரு சவுண்ட் மயங்கொலிகளோட தான் எக்ஸ்ட்ராவா வருது. இட்ஸ் நாட் பார்ட் ஆஃப் த பேஸ் ஆல்பபெட். யூர் ரைட்.
புள்ளி வச்சிருக்காங்க. குற்றியலுகரத்துக்கு புள்ளி வச்சிருக்கிறதாக படிச்சிருக்கேன். தொல்காப்பியத்துல
குற்றியலுகரத்துல என்ன வித்தியாசம் சொல்லி சொன்னா, இந்த ஊன்னு சொல்லிக்க இந்த இதழ் வந்து குவியுது தானே, அந்த இதழ் குவிப்பு குற்றியலுகரத்துல நடக்காது. அதான் குற்றியலுகரம் சொல்லுவோம். ஏனண்டா அந்த முழு குவியலும் குற்றியலுகரத்துக்கு உதாரணம் தவிப்பு. அப்ப நாங்கள் எழுதிக்க தவிப்புன்னு தான் எழுதுவோம். ஆனால் உச்சரிக்க தவிப்பு ஊ வராது, ன்னு தான் முடியுது. You see the difference? அது குற்றியலுகரம்.
அதாவது முழு மாத்திரை வந்து வராது அப்படிங்கிறீங்க. ஊ அப்படிங்கிற அந்த முழு மாத்திரை வராம அதான் குற்றியலுகரம். உகரமோட சவுண்ட் வந்து மாத்திரை அளவு குறையறதுனால குற்றியலுகரம்.
கரெக்ட்.
சில சமயம் புள்ளியை வச்சு குறிச்சிருக்காங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன் பழைய ஓலைகள்ல.
I see.
ஓலையில புள்ளி வைக்க முடியாது சார், சாரி.
இல்ல ஓலையில புள்ளி வைக்கிறாங்க. ஓலையில புள்ளி வைக்கிறதுடைய கன்வென்ஷன் என்னன்னா வந்து, when you want to cancel a letter, அதுக்கு புள்ளி வச்சிருக்காங்க. அதனாலதான் வந்து அந்த புள்ளிக்கும் புள்ளி இல்லாததுக்கான வேறுபாடு பிற்காலத்துல வந்ததுக்கு காரணம் வந்து, rather than cross out a letter, அது மேல ஒரு புள்ளி வச்சுட்டா இக்னோர் திஸ் லெட்டர் அப்படின்ற ஒரு கன்வென்ஷன் வந்து ஒரு குறிப்பிட்ட காலத்துல வந்திருக்கு. ஆனா புள்ளி வந்து தொல்காப்பிய காலத்துல புள்ளி அவர் தான் புள்ளியை ஸ்பெசிஃபை பண்றாரு. ஆனா அவர் காலத்துக்கு பின்னாடி கூட வந்து கல்வெட்டுகள்ல வந்து புள்ளி ரொம்ப நாள் போடலை. ஏன்னா அது புள்ளி இல்லாமையே அவங்களால படிக்க முடியுது. இன்னும் கூட இன்னைக்கு கூட வந்து நமக்கு புள்ளி இல்லாமே தமிழ் எழுதினாலும் படிக்க முடியும், நமக்கு தெரியும். சொல்லுங்க, கண்டினியூ.
Alright. So this is, I'm going into the examples now for both vowels and consonants, comparing Tamil and Sanskrit. On this chart, so up to u, can I do, how do I do annotation here? I like to annotate. Okay, good. I think I can. So up to this part, it's pretty much the same. And then it starts differing. A short, Sanskritla illa, A irukku. And then again, historically, it's a diphthong. So meaning they did not have an alphabet probably in the old Sanskrit. I'm not completely sure about that. And then the O sound is also not there. Again, they also have it. What I wanted to highlight here, the vocalic R, I don't know even if I can pronounce that one, and the ul part. These two are very peculiar ones in Sanskrit. I think I shared a video in the group. The Rishi or Rigveda level R under with the dot underneath that. That's part of the vowel. It's not even a consonant. But if you really try to pronounce it, at least for me, when I try to do that, it is blocking the air. So it sort of violates the convention of a vowel, but it belongs in vowels in Sanskrit. Same thing with this, one-off sound. I think there is only one word, as far as I read, in Sanskrit that KLP sound oda verra kalpana and the sound level. Again, it's a vowel that is in Sanskrit, which has no equivalence in Tamil. So These are the highlights that I wanted to bring up here in terms of vowels. We have a lot to cover. So, can we move on, or are there any questions?
Okay.
Okay.
Move on.
Okay, let's go. Needs to be cleared. Where's the one stop clearing? All right, there you go. Clear all right. Good. So this is consonants in Tamil. Like I alluded earlier, this sort of this is how Wikipedia classifies it. Do I completely agree with that? Not really. The reason I say that is, again, going back to Tolhapiam. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. The nasal sound. So in Tamil, we have Vallinam, Mellinam, Idainam. Vallinamum, Mellinamum, pretty straightforward. It's not that hard to map here. It actually starts at the back of the mouth. Ukkla start panni. Then we go uk, ich, it, and it, up. Idhila it is not here, but it's coming up here. So it's a trill. And the equivalent nasal sounds are the ones for Mellina. So the same place, labial vaimudeka varadu. That's the Mellinam part. Idainam than sikele. So Idainathila yavu vavum pretty straightforward. Ellarkume uchariklar easy. In the la illum, it's again alveolar, and in the front it's easy to do. The la then the difference. One is todularadu, ondu varadu. That's the basic distinction, which is it is not captured here. And I don't think this classification, there is one chart that I included in the references section of my presentation that gives the Tamil classification according to Tolhapiam. So the places of articulation and the manner of articulation are different in that one. I will, if I have time, I will go there and show it. But these ones are all, the fricatives, like I said, are not part of Sanskrit. The Grantha Elthukal, it's not the main Tamil alphabet. Any questions on this one? So, Ichila, the Ja is another Sanskrit borrowing. But we also have other variations in this one. I have examples on that one. We will go into that.
Mr. Vahees, I can
Yes.
put one question.
Yes.
In Pakistan, 74 languages speak. But Brahui is one Dravidian original language.
Oh.
In Brahui language, 4 retroflexes te, de, run, ade are present. But in other Indo-European languages, for example, Sindhi, Punjabi, and other languages are present these retroflexes sounds. What about you speak this opinion? What is your opinion? These sounds where come in this Indo-European languages are Brahui influence or any other linguistic influences on these Indo-European languages?
I don't know if I can comment on that. Maybe Rajaya, you have enough. You have read enough on this particular, the migrations and the influences. I'm not too familiar with that. Do you want to take up that question?
The general observation that's been made by many scholars is the retroflex phoneme is very fundamental to Dravidian language group. And it was part of the very early language that came into India. And Peggy Morgan has traced it all the way to East Africa, to the Indus Valley, and of course to where Brahmi is now spoken, into mainland India, and all the way into New Guinea and Australia. So, but it is absent in Proto-Indo-European languages, completely absent in Indo-European languages, and many other languages. Some African languages still have retroflex phonemes, but it's primarily in the middle part of Africa, not in northern part of Africa or very southern part of Africa. So the retroflex phonemes that you find in Punjabi, for example, and of course in Tamil or Kannada or Malayalam, is really goes back to ancient times, 60,000 years ago. And that connection is made based on many Aborigines language in Australia have the retroflex phonemes. And the number of retroflex phonemes are different, although we call them generically retroflex. For example, in Tamil, it is 4 or 5, but I think in Brzezinski, it's about 7 or so. And for some reason, at least the new classification suggests Sanskrit has 7. And Punjabi has more than in Tamil, for example. And this is according to the IPA, but I do not know what the details of these sounds are. That's why I earlier asked our good friend who is leading this wonderful discussion of the 7 or 8 that were listed on one of his slides, whether we can pronounce them, because it'll be a very difficult task for us to try to do that. We can pronounce na, for example, la and ra and ra very easily. We are used to that. But there are similar retroflex phonemes of different character that is found in Punjabi and also in many languages spoken in Hindu Kush region. And according to one scholar, there's many as, this is now going beyond IPA, 11 or 12 retroflex phonemes present in Hindu Kush region in some languages. But they become lower, less number as you go into mainland India. I don't know whether that provides some perspective. This phoneme goes back to very ancient times. That is fairly well established.
Right.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll get going. So I only made this slide last night because I think it is very important for anybody who wants to compare this language features in other languages against Tamil. So this is unfortunately written in Tamil. I could find the equivalent versions in English. But what I wanted to highlight here is the notion of Otra Purakam and Tadava Purakam. So Otra Purakam is basically touching slightly. Tadava Purakam is you are sliding along the upper part of your, gliding along your upper region of your mouth. I did not find that difference in any other classifications in the IPA. So probably that's something to focus on when we try to find out. And this is coming from the basic grammatical text that we have available in Tamil called Tolhapiyam. There are equivalents in Nannul as well. I did not quote them, but there are equivalent verses corresponding to this one. And there is no variation in that one. It's exactly the same. So there is no confusion between that and this.
This is really remarkable that the grammarian gave attention to pronunciation.
Correct. Yes.
The reason is if you change from just the sound is slightly different, the meaning changes in Tamil, right?
Right, right. Especially, yeah, because we don't, we do emphasis to that, yes.
So this is, in terms of grammar text, this is one of the finest things that I have run into. because Panini doesn't devote anything to pronunciation. Well, Tolkapian does attention. So the natural question, although this goes beside the question, he devoted this because people were mispronouncing, or is it because Tamil Nadu received a lot of immigrants and they were mispronouncing and they had to devote this chapter to pronunciation? You know what I mean? It goes both ways.
The latter could be true. The latter could be true.
That's what Dr. Rajam used to say. I mean, her comment is that the entire Tolkapiam was written because too many immigrants were coming and they're mangling the language, and it was written primarily to teach the immigrants how to use the language, because Tamils absorbed the language from their birth. So they didn't need a grammar to speak their language, but immigrants needed to. That's an interesting perspective.
I think
it's a side question. What could be the time period of Tolkapiam? Is there any reliable data or information?
Most people devote it as pre-Sangam period, 400, 500 BCE. There's one scholar who claims he predated Panini, and there are even some Tamil enthusiasts who say Panini was inspired by Tolkapiam's work and therefore he wrote Panini.
Yeah.
So,
Dr.
What is the available?
The Dr.
Available
Rajam's
data compared for Panini and Tolkapiam. What's the reliable? Okay.
You should read Dr. Rajam's thesis. She thinks that Tolkapiam evolved from a pan-Indian grammatical tradition that pre-existed. So Yanmanar Pullavar is not just Tamil; it could be anybody. And these are probably Jain scholars. This is nationwide, so they had evolved certain ideas, and Tolkapiam takes some ideas from that and develops this. And Panini is probably contemporaneous or a little bit later. But there were other Sanskrit grammar books that predate Tolkapiam. So, she doesn't want to get into dating, but because that's speculative, but certainly pre-Sangam.
That's a profound information, and I think we need to study Tolkapiam more and compare to the other languages, Indian languages, Sanskrit, especially. This is new and interesting information to me, at least.
Right.
We should probably take up
a link. You can download that PDF. It is both Tolkapiam and Nannul put together, only for Elutadhiharam. So it's a great resource.
But it would be interesting for us to take up Dr. Rajam's thesis, because that will be enormously instructive, because she studies Sanskrit grammar and compares it to Tolkapiam. Very interesting.
This is
Has she published as a book?
No, it is. It is. You can get it from. I think there are PhD theses that you can buy in the US. But yeah, she has not published it.
What I'm impressed with is he's using words to describe this big diagrams that IPA people had to use, right? So that is translating. In those days they couldn't use diagram. That of course they had words. Being able to describe sound that one makes using words is quite phenomenal. I mean, you're thinking about thought process that existed 2,500 years ago. And from that, I'm just plain impressed. I'm just thrown away into however way you might think about it. For example, some of that, the Tadava Pirakum, I mean, that is phenomenal. The words that are used by IPA is gliding sound, right? Where it is really sweeping of the tongue of the upper part of your throat and all of that type of stuff. So it's very, very interesting, thoroughly fascinating.
Exactly. Vahees, can you go back to that Tamil chart where
Sure.
in IPA you mapped it? Okay.
This one?
You look at this, you can look at the affricate, plosive affricate, right? You start from the right. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. That is exactly how kachata tapara. Ra comes was added later. Nga, nya, na, na, ma. Rannagaram comes middle here, but to Tolkappiyam, it's again it is later addition possibly. Kachata tapara, ganyan namana, ya, yaralla all over the place. That I'm not sure. But Kachata tapara, ganyan namana, you see that it goes from right to left in a systematic fashion.
And it's interesting when we get to Sanskrit, you will see how Sanskrit takes that even one step further by making it almost like a periodic table, because or not even that, like a multiplication table, because it's Vallinam times 4 is their core. I will get to that. Let's go there.
Right, exactly.
So this is consonants in Sanskrit. If you look at this, okay, am I still, annotation is turned on? Probably no. Okay, there you go. So this part, Kasada Tapa, is our Vallinam, and they do aspiration, unaspirated, and then they have voiced variants as well.
Right.
So
exactly.
This is 20 of their alphabets, then right there itself. And then they go into the nasal version of it, adding another. So it's like mathematical more than anything else. So it's fascinating. Like when I found these two comparisons, and they also have the ha sound alone, which we don't. Probably that's why we added ahenam. We don't know. And then they also have these ones. The sa variations are pretty prominent in Sanskrit, which we don't have at all. Ours is cha, ja only. I have examples to go over that one. The ra is also interesting because I put the orange arrow circle here because that's the ra. And na, they only have two variations. They don't have the Rendusuli Nana, which is and the alveolar one. Interestingly, la, the simple la is what they have in the consonant, and the weird one that they have in the vowels that I said that they have in the Kalpana one, those are the two la variations. So it's very interesting to compare these two languages. So they look a lot similar in some aspects, but they look completely different in some aspects. That's the summary of it.
Good.
Good. So let's move clear.
How many consonants they have in Sanskrit?
How many in total? No, they have, is it 55? This is 20 and 25 and 29, 32, 33. Yeah. All right. So these are the examples that I pulled together with the help of AI. I tried to double check for errors, but there could be some. I don't understand the Devanagari script. I cannot double check this one. So Sridevi, I guess you are familiar with this. If there is any errors, please let me know. I'll fix it. This red remark that I put up there is based on the Tolkappiyam understanding that I got recently, because like I said, it's not perfect. So the notations are somewhat close, but they're not perfect. So these are the sounds that we have for the Vallinam in Tamil, Kasadatapara, and the equal ones in Sanskrit. I try to differentiate between the voiced and the aspirated ones. So like I said, there is no IPA letter as such in Tamil for these variations, but in Sanskrit they do have variations. And the way they denote the aspiration one is with the H on the upper right corner. And so ka and ga are the voiced and unvoiced variant. And then for both, they have an aspirated versions as well. So similarly, for cha as well, this is the cha tachu ila varradhu. That's one variation of ours in Tamil. We also have the manjal varradhu. Sangam and varekla nangal chinna chana, we make a very soft sound. But in terms of letters, we don't differentiate them. Similar way in some of the other retroflexes as well, like ta, pattam is a different ta than tondu, but tondula, you can ask where the do is. The do it saha u irukku. So tondu and varekla we tondu and naanga solrilla tondu and dhaan solrana. But in Sanskrit, damaru is different, tata is different. So those sound variations make meaning differences as well.
Yeah, pattam, padam. You can easily say padam.
Oh yes,
is softening voice.
Like I said, the AI gave me this, so I just stuck with it. But
yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And the thing that always confused me is that in Carnatic music, they'll say kattam. Okay. To us, kattam and gadam, they are both the same. Okay?
Yes.
So they will, to them, it's different. Kattam is different from gadam. So
right.
You're right.
But what way it is different, katam and katam? Mani?
I don't know. See, katam is that pane, right?
The instrument,
Instrument. So I always wondered, why do they call it katam? Because Tamils will never say that. To us, that sound is unusual.
I think I saw that somewhere. The Panaki, Sanskrit, Katam dan pair.
Katam, okay.
Yeah, Katam dan Sanskrit Panaki pair. Yeah.
Okay. So they are literally saying pane da. Okay.
Yeah, pane தான் சொல்றாங்க. Kadam மட்டும் சொல்ல மாட்டேன்றாங்க.
அது தமிழ் சொல்ல வந்து மிஸ்ப்ரொனவுன்ஸ் பண்றாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
There are, whenever you see somebody violating those implicit rules, you know that either it is borrow a loan word from some other language, or like Professor Raj says, they are mispronouncing it because they are still, repeating what their ancestors used to say. So it's interesting.
Okay. We have a lot to cover. Let's keep going. So dentals, ta sound, tharam illa varradhu, oru ta, pandu and idhula D sound oda varradhu. So we make that differentiation, but we don't differentiate that in the letter. But in Sanskrit, it's different. Tat and deva is different, two different Ds. Pa is pretty much the same. Pal is pal. Manbu, with the B sound coming in there, so we don't have a B letter. This is debatable.
Abhayam,
Abhayam is a loan word.
The loan word, okay, that's also, we mispronounce it, so that's okay, move on. It's a loan word.
These are
the nasal sounds. Here we don't have much of a variation. These are the straightforward ones that, as far as all the other sounds go. This na is the one that I wanted to highlight that we have in Tamil. I'm not too sure about the Sanskrit variation here. I have to dig deep into this one, why it is not so. But we do have that. And also, I mean, there It's a fantastic book. I think I shared this in the group. Can you see my screen here? If I show this, does it show up on Zoom? It's kind of weird. Yeah, this is
You
the
have to
one.
switch.
Tamil. Yeah, okay. Tamil Moli Varalaru. Tepo Meenachi Sundarathan book. Excellent book, especially when it comes to phonology and phonetics. It has chapters on every aspect of Tamil language. So I'll just quickly go through the table of contents. அடிப்படை சான்றுகள் மூல திராவிட மொழி தென் திராவிட மொழிகளும் தமிழும் உகை கல்வெட்டுகளில் மொழி தொல்காப்பிய தமிழ் ஒலியனியல் உருவனியல் ஸோ மோஃபாலஜி அண்ட் ஃபொனட்டிக்ஸ் சங்ககால தமிழ் பல்லவர் சோழர் நாயக்கர் கால தமிழ் புற வரலாறு எக்ஸ்டர்னல் ஹிஸ்டரி and then 20ஆம் நூற்றாண்டு தமிழ். Quite a short book, but I think the English version would be much more interesting. I couldn't find the English version. Bama, if you can find that in RMR library, that would be great. They have it. I couldn't find anyone anywhere else on the net. But it compares how the language has evolved in these aspects, especially phonology and morphology. And he does mention that nowadays, the comparative grammar has evolved beyond that, and they have gone into syntaxes and semantics, the word order and all that stuff. It is not captured in this one, but it does get into morphology and சொல்லியலுக்குள்ள கொஞ்சம் வினை சொல்லு ஒரு சொல்லு அதில் பற்றி he talks about a little bit, but it doesn't get into the sentence formation of it, which is predominantly the comparative linguistic at the moment. So it's not helpful in that aspect, but for the phonology part, it's very, very helpful. So he talks about Mayakangal, how the Kalvattugal has changed and all that. I'm still going through that, but it's a very, very interesting book if anybody is interested. These are the other ones. In terms of classifications, we have the glides, the taps, and the laterals. So here you could see the la and la are not present in Sanskrit. They only have the simple la, ila ila verra la than irukku. And then retroflex ra. This one, I don't know. My speculation is, did this one come into Tamil from Sanskrit vowel, or they took this ra and brought it into Sanskrit vowel?
No, it is native to Tamil. Ragaram is native to Tamil.
Right.
Actually, Ragaram and Rannagaram are absent in Sanskrit. But it's interesting that Tolkappiyar classifies it as Vallinam, and you are making it an approximate and liquid, which means that the pronunciation of Ragaram was different in Tolkappiyam time than it is now.
Quite possibly, yes. So, yeah, I did look into this. So, Ragarathila, when you pronounce the it sound and the ra sound, it's different. So, I think according to Tolkappiyam, I have to double check. You have to glide upwards for this one, if I'm not mistaken. But we won't get into that. I decided not to go into this one because this is too much of a complicated topic.
It is.
But it is something definitely to look into.
Certainly, you in Iram, you pronounce it differently from most of the modern Tamils, but nevertheless, in common speech, sometimes we approach the way you pronounce it. For example, we will say vetru, veti, okay? That tagaram is closer to ragaram, like the way you pronounce it, right?
Right.
Tiruvattiyur, Vattadam, these are all very interesting because in Tamil you have to say Vattadam, okay?
Vattadam,
but
yes.
we pronounce it like Vattadam.
Vattadam,
okay?
Yes.
So that that's why I'm curious about how you listed the Tolkappiyam way.
Yeah, so
Ragaram, it will be different.
Let me quickly go there because I think it is different. See, It is
Yeah.
put with
Otraparagam.
in and it. Otraparagam. Right?
Right.
So இதுல மெல்லினமும் வல்லினமும் ஒரேதியா வரும். Right? But
Right.
in the IPA classification, they have put it under glides and laterals.
Yeah. That means that we probably are pronouncing it differently now than in Tolkapian times.
Possibly, yes, yes.
Otherwise, it doesn't belong in Vallinam at all. Just imagine, why is it Vallinam even?
Yeah.
If it's the retroflex flap, it is not Vallinam. So that's a deep topic. Go on.
Okay. So these are fricatives, which we don't have equivalents in Tamil. They're all borrowed Grantha letters. The sa, sha, ha, but they're all native to Sanskrit. This is quite obvious. I think pretty much everybody would have understood this. So I did some research. I don't want to claim I've read the entire literature on this one, so I tried to gather some summaries on where these things have evolved based on some of the papers that I have given in the references. So, like I think Rajaya, you articulated this very well in a summary form. Like there are various notions or opinions on how this could have evolved. Proto-Dravidian versus Tamil, where things came, which language influenced what. I don't know if I really want to go into the details of it. Maybe we can take that in the Q&A section. But this is a unit. So in summary, what I wanted to capture here is that yes, the retroflexes are a unique feature of Dravidian, Proto-Dravidian phonology, which is something to really focus on if we want to trace our ancestry to Indus Valley or the language X classifications or conversations. I think there is also some people who say that it didn't originate. We will get that when you compare this to the Sanskrit one. I think this is not a significant slide. I'm going to skip that. So this is an interesting one. This is again a summary based generated by AI. That's why I put it has to be confirmed. I'm not familiar with other languages, any of these other languages, but we have somebody who could speak Brahui here on the call. So can we validate this statement? This language retroflexes from its native Dravidian stock third as well as the retroflex flap R. Nazir, can you?
No, Ray.
This is Ray?
Ray.
Okay.
And
how many in total do we have? So you said 4?
4. Te, de, ade, roon. Roon is in some words used. For example, man, 40 kg, and other loves is Khan. There is in mountains hole, and other words use this sound.
Okay.
Te, de, ade, noon. 4.
4 of them. Okay. So I'll make a note of that and fix the presentation here. Okay. I wanted to get to the slide where, okay, this is the one. So, Rajaya, you said Witzel has his opinion on how the retroflexes influenced. So I think there are 3 camps or 2 camps on this one, and now they all agree that it's an aerial development that happened. This is the picture that AI generated. It's funny. But it arose through a joint aerial development is the current core claim. But the first claim is the traditional view is that it is purely a Dravidian substratum. And then the Indo-Aryan innovation is another one. And then Witzel came and said that it could be Paramunda as well. But now they all say that it could have co-evolved in as a pan-India thing, and hence it's prominent in the Indian languages overall. I did go through the paper that you shared, Rajaya, the archaeology of South Asia by Southworth. It's very interesting. Chapter 3 is specifically about this retroflexus stuff. That's what this slide is a summary of. And so there are differences of opinion is what I wanted to highlight. We still don't know which one is accurate, but there is a good chance that it definitely came from Dravidian, Proto-Dravidian origins is what I wanted to highlight. I do have some other slides, but those are all options. And this is your final slide that you shared, Rajaya. So going back to our topic of interest that we started with Peggy Mohan's book. So this is a overall summary. This is very well captured. I don't know if I will be able to comment on any of this. Maybe I'll stop here and we'll take up questions and discuss this topic further. And I'll leave this slide on here so that we can discuss about all things.
Good. Very good. It's a pretty complex topic, but I think it's a very, you made a super job of presenting the main idea. And the key thing that I think we need to learn is the alphabet, phonetic alphabet, because with that we can read research papers in this area. For example, McAlpin's paper goes through, uses this terminology, so does many of the linguistic scholars. But I think pronunciation is an important topic. And what fascinates me is that 2,500 years ago, grammarians thought about characterizing or rather describing the sound using poetry, in fact, right? So that's very very impressive piece of work. So there was an ancient not phonetic alphabet, phonetic poetry, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And the description fairly close to, falls close to some of the descriptors you have given from IPA. You know, the way the tongue moves, and that's described in some of the sutram. That is fascinating.
Yeah, the boundary separation is a bit blurry, but otherwise it's pretty accurate. Yeah. And they also distinguished parts of the tongue as well, nuni and the sides. And annam, so they always corresponded the back of the tongue to the back of the part of the mouth, and then as it got to the front of the tongue, then it becomes how you bend it, where you touch it, and all that. So the first two, velinum becomes quite easy because it's quite straightforward, but then the idainum is where it goes all over the place.
So my suggestion, since you have done a fair amount of reading in this area and written it up, you should consider a short paper called Tolkappiyar, the Ancient Phonologist, not as a grammarian. Because everybody knows him as a grammarian, not as a phonologist. But clearly what you've shown is he was a phonologist, right?
Definitely, yes.
So one general comment, can I make it? So very general, broad. You said at the beginning that language came first when oral, then written. So the populations speaking a language and then writing it and codifying it, grammar, and then back to the people speaking, and back to the grammarians structure. So this kind of back and forth, I guess, happened in Tamil very early, because in Kiradi, as you see, in part, the names were written in part and things like that. The tradition is still today in vessels. They copper vessel. They type the inscribe their names and things like that. This probably is better in Tamil, or why the language is so good, and we even speaking Tamil. It's not. It's very close to the written form and follow the codifying thing. Even Changa literature. What do you think of that? Is it unique to Tamil, or compared to Sanskrit, other Indian languages?
Well, one thing that I can say is that they have considered language as something that is core of the culture. They have always tried to fine tune it to the max. I mean, the amount of specificity and differentiation of subtle elements that they have, it's really, I think that shows how much committed they were to the language. They didn't take it for granted, like it's something that's on the side. Like they really focused on it and perfected it with the subtleties.
I'm sorry, Sridhar, Mr. Sridhar raised her hands. Please, sorry, sir. Go ahead.
You're on mute. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
No, I just raise the hand so that I can talk after you finish. It's okay. So the first thing is the P and B. Okay, the moment I saw your slide this morning itself, and then I was going through most of the things, my question was with that is, if you look at the people in Tamil Nadu sometimes, right, they, instead of Petromax, they say Betromax. Right? P and B, they switch. A lot of people, a lot of videos, a lot of things, you notice that. That is one. Now, that one, my understanding, even prior to this discussion before, it is something related to genetic or something, but you brought up the phonetic part of it. Is there any variations will happen?
Well, yeah, genetically, I do think it. Well, I'm not an expert in that. We have Raja. I don't want to say anything here. But I think if a Chinese person speaks a language like Tamil, it will be a hard thing for them. I think it's not because I don't know if it is really genetic or not, but their body is definitely has a different composition that has evolved over years, and which may not be suitable or suitable. I don't know. I'm not an expert to comment on that, but I feel that they will have great difficulty.
I don't think it is genetic, because if it is genetic, Tamils born overseas should be echoing what Tamils in Tamil Nadu are doing, and that's not happening. So it is cultural, it's acquired, it is learned from the others. And there are people who, you heard Dr. Peggy Mohan pronounce Ragaram perfectly. That's not genetics, that is learned. So I don't think it is genetic. The other thing is that, what Sridharan said is true. People are doing hypercorrection. Word initial Varlinam must be hard pronounced. So it should be Chandai, not Sunday. Okay, Petromax cannot become Betromax. That is hypercorrection, because people are trying to imitate what they think is the elite language, Sanskrit. So Betromax is not genetic, it is mispronunciation. This is probably hypercorrection. There are lots of such mispronunciations that you see in Tamil Nadu today. So your word initial Chagaram is pretty much has disappeared in Tamil today. It might be existing in Elam, but almost in all the places, people are mispronouncing it Chandai, Chandai. When I was growing up, it was Chandai, not Sandai. Okay, it was Chandai, not Sandai. Today, you will never hear people say Chandai or Chandai. I think I think people are mispronouncing Tamil, mimicking what they think is the elite sound. The same thing with Tavamai Tavam Irundu. Okay, that is a movie name. Tavamai Tavam Irundu. Almost everybody will say Davamai Davam Irundu. But it is wrong. It is not Davam in Sanskrit. It is not Davam in Tamil. But they will say Davamai Tavam Irundu because they are doing hyper Sanskritization.
Yeah, in follow-up with that, sir. Okay, I understand it may not be genetic, but what I noticed in some other videos, like when Chinese, they are not able to spell R, they give it as L.
Yeah.
So again, if you come to Bengal, V and B switch is there. So that's why if you compare again, all these three.
I get you, what you're trying to say, but my question is, if it is genetic, then nobody will be able to, like, if you adopt a Chinese child, for example.
Genetics, right? Instead of genetics, can we take as the way the vocal tract is formed, like that anthropologically that?
Yeah, not really the vocal tract, the tongue mainly.
The part.
Yeah. So the way, I don't know if it could be, I don't know. But for example, the real way to test it is like we adopt a Chinese child and teach them Tamil in Tamil Nadu and see, or Tamil Nadu or Ilanga, and see whether they are able to pronounce it properly. I think the childhood age matters. The language that they learn in their childhood matters on whether they are able to pick it up later on or not. That's for sure.
The other thing is Chinese languages are tonal. That is very difficult for us to understand. Okay.
Right.
In fact, I'm curious to know how Chinese is represented in IPA.
It is not, because their characters are pictorial, right? So they cannot, they don't have a phonetic notion at all.
Yeah.
There is a video series, Mind Your Language. In 1975, it was produced in British comedy.
UK. I'm a huge fan of that series. Yeah.
If you watch that, you will get all these things. Different.
So, fun fact, because we touched upon that topic, the Singh guy that comes on the video, he's a Sinhalese guy. He's a Sri Lankan Sinhalese guy. Yes.
Wow, Ranjit.
Ranjit Singh is Sinhalese.
Naga has a hands up. Naga, நீங்க சொல்லுங்க.
இது ஸ்ரீதரன் ஐயா கேட்ட கொஸ்டினுக்கு எனக்கு ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு அப்சர்வேஷன், ஒரு கமெண்டா போஸ்ட் பண்றேன் ஜாப்பனீஸ்ல இருந்து. ஜாப்பனீஸ்ல வந்து அந்த ஆல்பபெட் சிஸ்டம் வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா தமிழோட இணையா இருக்கும். ஆ இ உ ஏ ஓ நம்ம தமிழ்ல இருக்கிற அந்த குறியல் தான் வந்து அப்படியே இருக்கு. உயிரெழுத்துக்களை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும். இது மெய்யெழுத்துக்களை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் பாத்தீங்கன்னா காச த ப சாரி காச த ஹ பா கிடையாது, ஹ ய ம ர இன்னு ந கிடையாது, இன்னு மட்டும் இருக்கு. ஸோ இது ஒன்று சொல்லணும்னு. இன்னொன்று என்னன்னா, அந்த ஹா இருக்கு இல்லைங்களா, அந்த வரிசையில ஹா வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஏர்லி ஜாப்பனீஸ், அதாவது ஒரு 5th செஞ்சுரி போல வந்து சைனீஸ் இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ்க்கு முன்னாடி வரைக்கும் பான்னு தான் இருந்திருக்கு. தமிழ்ல இருக்க அந்த பாவுக்கு இணையான சவுண்டு தான் லேட்டர் பீரியட்ல ஒரு 300 இயர்ஸ்க்கு அப்புறம் வந்து அந்த பா வந்து ஃபா அப்படின்னு வந்து மாற்றம் அடையுது. இது ஆஸ்பிரேஷனா எனக்கு சொல்ல தெரியல. பட் வந்து இந்த பா அப்படின்ற சவுண்டை வந்து பெறுது. அந்த வரிசையை பா பி பூ பே போ அவங்கள்ட்ட 5 வரிசை தான் இருக்கு. நம்ம மாதிரி பாப்பா பி பி அப்படின்னு இல்லை, அதை வந்து வேற மாதிரி கொண்டு வருவாங்க. பட் ஸ்டில் அவங்களுக்கு சவுண்ட் இருக்கு, பட் அந்த வரிசையில வந்து வராது. ஸோ பாப்பா பா பி பூ பே போ வந்து பா பி பூ பே போன்னு மாறுது. அதற்கு பிறகு வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா இன்னும் வந்து சாஃப்டன் அடையுதுன்னு சொல்றாங்க, சாஃப்டன் ஆகுதுன்னு சொல்றாங்க, சாஃப்ட் ஆகுதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அந்த ஃபான்றது ஹாவா மாறுது. ஹா ஹி ஹூ ஹே ஹோ. அப்படின்னு சொல்லி மாற்ற முடியுது. இதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன நினைக்கிறாங்க அப்படின்னா, நம்மளோட அந்த பழமையான அந்த பாவை வந்து விட்டுறக்கூடாது. இன்னும் சில சவுண்ட்ஸ்க்கு நம்ம வந்து யூஸ் பண்றோம். இன்னொன்னு இதை ஏன் சொல்ல வந்தேன்றதை நான் சொல்றேன். பிறகு வந்து அந்த பா சவுண்டையும் விட்டுறக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அந்த ஹா அப்படின்றது தான் இப்ப இருக்குன்னு சொன்னேன் இல்லைங்களா? ஹா ஹி ஹூ ஹே ஹோன்னு
ரைட்.
சொல்லிட்டு அதுல வந்து ஒரு சின்ன மார்க் மட்டும் போடுவாங்க. ஒரு ரெட்டை கொம்பு மாதிரி ஒரு சின்ன மார்க் பண்ணி அதை வந்து பா அப்படின்னு உச்சரிப்பாங்க. ஸோ சில எங்கெல்லாம் வந்து பா வார்த்தை வருதோ அங்க வந்து கொண்டு வராங்க. ஸோ இது என்னன்னா இந்த பா சவுண்ட் வந்து சைனீஸ் இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ்னால வந்து மாற்றம் அடையுது அந்த பான்றது வந்து. ஏன்னா வந்து
ம்ஹ்ம்.
5th 6th செஞ்சுரியில தான் வந்து சைனீஸ் லெட்டர்ஸ் வந்து ஜாப்பனீஸ்க்கு உள்ள வந்து அடாப்ட் பண்றாங்க. இப்போ வந்து நம்ம தமிழ்ல வந்து நம்ம வாகிசன் சொல்லியிருந்தீங்கல்ல இந்த ஆஹ், என்ன சொல்றது இந்த கலைச்சொற்கள் வந்து நம்ம தமிழ்ல இருக்கிறத வச்சே உருவாக்குறோம். அங்க வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா காஞ்சி அடாப்டேஷன் பண்றாங்க. சைனீஸ்ல இருந்து காஞ்சி அடாப்டேஷன் பண்ணிட்டு இங்க நம்ம வந்து பல்கலைக்கழகம்னு சொல்றோம் இல்லைங்களா? அதே
ம்ஹ்ம்.
வார்த்தையை வந்து அவங்க அங்க தைகக்குன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ இதுல அஹ், அங்க வந்து இந்த தாய்கக்கு அப்படின்றதுக்கு வந்து ஜாப்பனீஸ்ல வந்து பொருள் வந்து சைனீஸ்ல இருந்து வருது. அதோட பொருள் வந்து தைகக்கு
சரி.
அப்படின்னா பெரிய படிப்பு, அவ்வளவுதான். So, இந்த
ஓ.
வந்து இந்த மாற்றத்துல வந்து அந்த ஃபா வருது. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா அந்த ஃபா வந்து ஹாவா மாறுறதுக்கு வந்து ஸ்ரீதரன் ஐயா சொன்ன மாதிரி ஜெனட்டிக்கலா இல்லாம ஆக்சுவலா வந்து நம்ம ஸ்லாங் இந்த இந்த கான்ஷு ப்ரிஃபெக்சருக்கு ஒரு ஸ்லாங் இருக்கும், கியோத்தோ ப்ரிஃபெக்சருக்கு ஒரு ஸ்லாங் இருக்கும். அதுல யாரு டாமினண்டா இருக்காங்களோ அவங்களோட சவுண்டை வந்து அந்த மொத்த பெரும்பான்மைக்கும் வந்து ஏற்றுக்கொள்ளப்படுது. ஸோ அப்படியும் ஒரு ஒரு பார்வை பார்க்கணும்னு நான் நினைக்கிறேன். அஹ் எந்த எந்த டயலக்ட் பேசுறவங்க வந்து ஆம், பெரும்பான்மையா இருக்காங்களோ
சொசைட்டில
அல்லது வந்து
ரைட், ரைட்.
அந்த மாதிரி வந்து எடுத்துக்கொள்ளப்பட்டு அந்த பா வந்து ஃபாவா மாறி, பா வந்து ஹாவா மாறி, அப்புறம் ஹா வந்து ஓகே நமக்கு வந்து பாவும் வச்சுக்கணும், நம்மளோட ட்ரெடிஷன் இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு அதை வந்து ஆஹ், ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு குறியீடு போடுறதன் மூலமா வந்து மறுபடியும் பான்னு மாத்துறாங்க. இது ஒரு ஒரு யூனிக்கான ஒரு சின்ன விஷயம் இருக்கு. இவங்க வந்து இந்த 18th
ரைட்,
செஞ்சுரியில
ரைட்.
வந்து எடோ பீரியட்ல வந்து அவங்களோட கண்ட்ரியை வந்து லாக் பண்ணி வச்சிருந்தாங்க. லைக் வேற எந்த கண்ட்ரியும் வந்து உள்ள வரக்கூடாது ஜாப்பனீஸ்குள்ள அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு. அப்போ வந்த ஒரே கண்ட்ரி பீப்புள் யாருன்னு பாத்தீங்கன்னா டச்சுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன், நெதர்லாந்து இஃப் ஐம் நாட் ராங். அவங்க வந்து இந்த ஆல்பபெட்ஸ் வந்து இங்கிலீஷ் அந்த இட்டாலியன் ஆல்பபெட்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்றதுனால ஸ்ரீதரன் ஐயாவோட இன்னொரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் நான் சொல்றேன். இந்த ப ப இருக்கு இல்லைங்களா? ஸ்மால் லெட்டர்
ம்ஹ்ம்.
ப அண்ட் ப பாத்தீங்கன்னா அப்படியே வந்து தலைகளா திருப்பி போட்ட மாதிரி இருக்கும் இல்லைங்களா?
ரைட், ரைட்.
பியும். ஸோ இதை பார்த்துட்டு என்ன பண்ணாங்க, ஓ சவுண்டு கிட்டத்தட்ட ஒரே மாதிரி இருக்கு, அதை வந்து டிஃபரெண்டா மார்க் பண்றதுக்கு தலைகீழா போடுறாங்கன்னு அவங்க நினைச்சிட்டாங்க ஜாப்பனீஸ் வந்து அந்த
ம்ஹ்ம்.
பியையும் பியையும். அப்ப அவங்க என்ன பண்ணாங்க,
ம்.
தலைகீழா நம்ம போட்டுக்க வேண்டாம், எங்க கிட்ட வந்து இப்போ இங்க அங்கேயும் இதே மாதிரி தான். இங்க வந்து நமக்கு காச த இருக்கு இல்லைங்களா?
ம்ஹ்ம்.
இந்த காச த ஆமா இந்த மூன்று தான் வந்து சான்ஸ்கிரிட்டை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் க க க அப்புறம் வந்து த த அந்த மாதிரி வந்து நிறைய மாற்றம் வருது இல்லைங்களா? அவங்களுக்கும் வந்து தமிழ் மாதிரியே அங்க ரெண்டு இருக்கு. இங்க வந்து நமக்கு ஆம், அஹ், அஹ், இப்போ வந்து பாதம் அதுல வர்ற த வந்து த சொல்லுவோம், தடம்ல வந்து
ரைட்,
த அப்படின்னு சொல்லுவோம். ஸோ அதே
ரைட்.
சவுண்ட்ஸ் வந்து அவங்களுக்கும் இருக்கு, ஜாப்பனீஸ்க்கும் இருக்கு. அவங்க என்ன நினைச்சிட்டாங்க, இந்த டச்சோட டச்சோட லெட்டர்ஸ் இன்ஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ஸை பார்த்து ஓகே நம்ம அப்படியே அந்த லெட்டரை வச்சுக்குவோம், எங்கெல்லாம் இந்த த வருதோ அங்கெல்லாம் மேல ஒரு சின்ன அப்பாஸ்ட்ரஃபி மாதிரி போட்டுருவோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு இந்த ஸ்கிரிப்ட் வந்து கொஞ்சம் எவால்வ் ஆகுது. இது வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா எனக்கு ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கா இருந்தது. இன்னொரு ஸ்கிரிப்டை பார்த்து அவங்க எடுத்துக்கிறது அண்ட் வந்து இந்த மோரா சிஸ்டம்னு ஒன்று சொல்றாங்க ஜாப்பனீஸ்ல வந்து, அது அப்படியே வந்து தமிழோட மாத்திரை சிஸ்டம் மாதிரியே இருக்கு எனக்கு நான் படிக்கும் பொழுது. ஸோ இதெல்லாம் வந்து
ரைட், ரைட்,
இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கா
ரைட்.
இருந்தது. ரெண்டாவது இந்த ப ப ஹ மறுபடியும் பாவா மாறினது எனக்கு ரொம்ப இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங்கா பட்டது. அது அது மெயினா வந்து அந்த டைலக்ட்ஸ் ஒரு டைலக்ட்ஸோட இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் இருந்ததாகவும் இன்னொரு கண்ட்ரியோட சவுண்டை வந்து அவங்க எடுத்துக்கிட்ட பொழுது அந்த இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸும் ரெண்டும் இருந்தது. அப்பார்ட் ஃப்ரம் ஜெனட்டிக்ஸ்னு நான் ஃபீல் பண்றேன். இப்போ வந்து சைனீஸோட நிறைய சவுண்ட்ஸ் வந்து அவங்க ஜாப்பனீஸ் யூஸ் பண்றாங்க, பட் ஆனா ஒரிஜினல் சவுண்ட்ஸ்லயே இருக்காது. ஜாப்பனீஸ்
இதுல
அவங்களோட
முக்கியமான விஷயம், sorry to interrupt. நீங்க இன்னொரு எதை நீங்க நோட் பண்ணி பார்க்கணும்டா, அந்த ஜப்பனீஸ் லாங்குவேஜ் இருந்த கிராமர் டெக்ஸ்ட் எப்போ முதல்ல வெளிவந்ததுன்றதை நீங்க பார்க்கணும்.
நான் இன்னும் தேடிட்டு இருக்கேன், அதுக்கு கிடைச்சதுன்னா
தேடி பாருங்க.
பாக்குறேன்.
I think that will be very
கண்டிப்பா
interesting because that's when they would have realized that this has to be structured and codified. அந்த
கண்டிப்பா கண்டிப்பா
கோடிஃபிகேஷன் வந்து தமிழுக்கு வெரி ஏர்லி நடந்துட்டுது.
அதுல ஒரு
இன்னும் பழைய ரைட் மற்ற இப்போ புது புது லாங்குவேஜஸ் எல்லாம் ஈவன் இப்போ சிங்களத்துக்கு கொடுத்து இப்போ லேட் 13th century என்னவோ தான் நடந்ததுன்றதான் நான் கேள்விப்பட்டேன். ஸோ பழைய லாங்குவேஜஸ் இருந்தாலும் அதன் வேரியேஷன்ஸ் கிறிஸ்டலைஸ் பண்ணப்படும் when you have a grammar text formulated. So அது இல்லாத பட்சத்தில் it will be a very fluid language. Anybody can change any time and it will keep on evolving much faster.
அதுல கான்ட்ரவர்சியா ஒரு விஷயமும் இருக்கு. இது வந்து இந்த சைனீஸ் வழியா வந்து இந்த 5th 6th centuryல அவங்க ஸ்கிரிப்ட் வந்ததுனால அவங்க அந்த எழுத்துக்களை வந்து ஃபோனட்டிக்கலா முதல்க்கு சிம்பிள்ஸ் தான் யூஸ் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க சைனீஸ் மாதிரி. ஃபோனட்டிக்கலாவும் அவங்க வந்து கேட்டகரைஸ் பண்ணிட்டாங்க. அதுக்கு வந்து நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி நான் கிராமட்டிக்கல் பத்தி படிச்சுட்டு இருக்கும்பொழுது சான்ஸ்கிரிட்டோட இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் இருக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொல்றாங்க. ஏன்னா வந்து புத்திஸ்ட் மாங்ஸ் வந்து சான்ஸ்கிரிட் தான் பெரும்பான்மையா வந்து உபயோகப்படுத்தினதாகவும், ஆனா அங்க அப்படி போயிருந்தா இந்த க க வந்து ஏன் வந்து ஒரே லெட்டரை யூஸ் பண்ணணும் அவங்க நம்மள மாதிரியே. தமிழ் நான் சொல்ல வரல, பட் அவங்க இன்ஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ஸ் வந்து ஏன் போகல அப்படின்றது வந்து இன்னொரு விஷயமா இருக்கு. நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி அது அந்த லெவல்ல நான் இன்னும் படிக்கணும். நான் படிச்சுட்டு தெரிஞ்சதுன்னா பகிர்ந்துக்கிறேங்க. நன்றி.
தேங்க்யூ.
ஜஸ்ட் இந்த ஜெனடிக் பத்தி பேசுனீங்க இல்லைங்களா? There was a scholar in Australia who was trying to use genetics to try to figure out voice shape, or rather voice box shape and other structures to try to predict. I think he was after what the language that was spoken by the Aborigines of Australia 50,000 years ago. That was published maybe around 25 years ago in Science. So it is a major journal. There are no takers for it. There is no follow-up work on this. So trying to connect genetics to be able to the language you speak, there is no relationship. Your pronunciation also, there is no relationship. On the other hand, நம்ம சின்ன வயசுல you use certain sounds, பேச்சு வாக்குல. அதனால your tongue is a muscle, right? அதனால the training of the muscle will be based on that. Second, these voices are remembered in your brain. And so from neurite formation, those sounds had to be translated and signaled to the muscle, tongue, for it to move to create that sound. So your brain is involved. And so which part of your brain has been trained from young is then dictates how you express that sound. Now, for example, நீங்க சொன்னீங்களா?
Word of the Lord.
So for example, நீங்க வந்து கேரளா பீப்புள் நீங்க சொல்லுங்க, அவங்களுக்கு வந்து எஸ் சரியா வருது, சவுண்டுன்றது சவுண்டுன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க, ஞாபகம் இருக்குங்களா? So the difference between sound and sound is aspiration. Your tongue is not touching all the way up, instead slightly lower so air flows through. So that must be a purely muscular thing, because அவங்க இதுல வந்து அந்த sound may not have been part of their training. நீங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி you can always train yourself. For example, when Shashi Kapoor he speaks in perfect pronunciation. All of us can speak in perfect pronunciation. That's true training. And therefore, for example, our own children who are grown up here, their pronunciation is different from our pronunciation. For example, my son would make the fun of, we don't make a distinction between V sound and W sound.
Right.
We'll say wound versus wound. So they can make the distinction. They know the difference. But நமக்கு தெரியாது, because it's not part of our phoneme system in the way we are training. Although I've lived
you can
here,
show him the IPA table and say va is dental and verb idal and pallu. Wow is bilabial. We don't have a wow. That's
right. நீங்க அதை அழகா சொன்னீங்க இல்லையா? இது நமக்கு சொல்ல தெரியல, because when they were growing up as children, வீட்டில் வந்து they'll make fun of our pronunciation because they are taught different way in school. நமக்கு அந்த distinction இல்லை. So it is purely training, right? But all of us can learn how to pronounce this. For example, in the MP from Kerala or Thiruvananthapuram danla Shashi Kapoor really our pere.
Shashi Tharoor. Shashi Tharoor.
Shashi Tharoor. He speaks with perfect accent. I mean, I cannot find a single error, not only in his pronunciation, but also in his grammatical enunciation of his ideas. Perfect speaker, right? On the other hand, many people from India, PhD எல்லாம் வாங்கியிருப்பாங்க அவங்க கிராமர் இல்லாத பேசுவாங்க many scholars, right? And including us, people who have been in this country for a long time. So the pronunciation is very much a learned behavior. It has nothing to do with genetics.
என்ன அதான் சொல்லுவாங்கல்ல, சித்திரமும் கைப்பழக்கம் செந்தமிழும் நாப்பழக்கம். நாவ பழக்கினா செந்தமிழ் வர்றதுக்கு வாய்ப்பு இருக்குது.
அழகா சொல்றீங்களே, நீங்க ஒரு ஸ்பீச் கொடுக்கலாம் இங்க.
அது சரி. நீங்கெல்லாம் பெரிய பெரிய ஸ்காலர்ஸ் இருக்கிறீங்க, இந்த மாதிரிலாம் டைமே இல்லைண்ணே. அதுதான் இன்னைக்கு பாமாட்ட கூட நான் சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தேன், ஐ வுட் லவ் டு சிட் டவுன். இன்னைக்கு ஒரு டிரைவ்ல போயிட்டு இருக்கிறேன், அதனால எல்லாத்தையும் ஃபுல்லா கேட்கறதுக்கு ஒரு வாய்ப்பு இருந்துச்சு. இல்லைனாலாம் டைம் இருக்கிறது இல்லை. பட் டெஃபினெட்லி ஐ திங்க் செந்தமிழ் நாப்பழக்கம் கண்டிப்பா பழக்குனா, ஏன்னா ஜெனட்டிக்கா நாக்கோட ஷேப்ல வித்தியாசம் இருக்காது இல்லைண்ணே. எல்லாரோட ஷேப் நாக்கு ஒரே மாதிரி தானே இருக்கும். ஜப்பான்காரனாலும் சரி, சைனாக்காரனாலும் எவல்யூஷன் அப்படிதான் இருக்கும். பட் அதுல சேஞ்ச் இருக்குமா? வாய்ப்பு இருக்கா?
நாப்பழக்கம் தான் அது உண்மைதான். ஆனா சன் டிவியை போட்டா பழம் தானே சொல்றாங்க.
ஆமா ஆமா, அவனுக்கு யாரும் பழக்கம் சொல்லி கொடுக்கறது இல்லையே. வெரி ட்ரூ.
இல்ல, சன் டிவி பார்த்தா போதும், தமிழே ஒழிஞ்சிடுன்னு நினைக்கிறேன்.
Well, before I forget, this is a request to Dr. Nasir. So please record the Brahui alphabet sounds and share it with the Dravidian scholars. It will be of immense help to Dravidian researchers, because because this is a language that is completely unfamiliar to most of the Dravidian researchers in the South. So, when you pronounce the four retroflexes, I'm thinking, what is that? Like I can barely understand it. So those are the things that will be of immense use.
Sir, you're on mute.
You are on mute. Nasir,
sir, you are on mute.
Sir, I will record it on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Naga can switch on the camera. We can look at him.
நான் ஜப்பான்ல இருந்தா படுக்க போயிருப்பாருனே. நேரம் படுக்க போயிருப்பாருனே.
இல்லையா, சென்னையில இருக்கேன். கேமரா இல்லையா, அந்த டெஸ்க்டாப் இதுல செட்டப் பண்ணேன். இன்னொரு நாள் நான் பகிர்ந்துக்கிறேன்.
11 p.m.
I want to share something real quick here. I think anybody who is interested in continuing this phonology stuff should definitely look into this one. Give me 1 second. Where is my playlist? There is a page from University of British Columbia. I'm trying to get to that one of their videos here. 1 second. It's an X-ray image of how your mouth the movements in your mouth are during pronunciation. It's really fascinating.
There are some European scholars who have looked at frequency spectrum of various sounds.
Yes, that is another aspect.
I think Mama would appreciate this. So they've actually mapped the frequency spectrum of various sounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me share my screen here.
Yeah, you can do that on your app. There's an app for sound spectrum, on your phone. You can actually capture the frequency spectrum.
So I have muted this one. Can you see my screen? I'm sharing it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So yeah, I have muted it because it will interrupt our conversation here. So as you see, this is just a visual, but I think there is an X-ray version of it too, I guess. If you go to the same channel, I'll share it in the group here later on. Yeah, you see that? This is an animation, but they also have an X-ray version of it in the same channel. It's really fascinating how you see the tongue. It's UBC visible speech. I'll share it in the group.
Suppose Tolkappir is able to see this, how would he have
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
ரூல் போட்டு எல்லாம் இப்படித்தான் ப்ரொனவுன்ஸ் பண்ணணும்னு அப்பயே எழுதிட்டாரு அவரு. பிரமாதமா அந்த ஒரு ஸ்லைட்ல வாய்ஸ்.
Now, what I'm trying to instigate is Vahees to try to write a paper on this, which is Tolkappir 2 on Soladikaram.
And Nasir Aya has a conference. You should write for that conference.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, wow. No, I'm not nowhere near near any of that. I'm not even crawling. I am yet to crawl. I am just born.
Actually, I have one comment, Sridevi
Sure.
here. The thing is, when we are discussing the repeated thought I am getting on this is, we are discussing only on the elite language sites like Tamil, Sanskrit, which are almost developed, and it has been, you have a sound, you have a grammar for it, it's written and you preserve it. And what about those tribal languages which are very fluid, which doesn't have any grammar? But still, Peggy says like lot of retroflex sounds are present in the tribal languages.
They are.
So, yeah. So, is there any study which you have done, like which tribal languages coincide with the Sanskrit or Tamil, or did you do any study on that, or how do IPA match those tribal sounds? Because it's very fluid, nobody is going to account it. So is IPA based on those, does it include those tribal sounds even, is my first question I had when you introduced
Yes,
these.
yes. Definitely it does. So I'm going to bring up a page here. Give me a second. So if you are interested, it's an expensive book. You can get this one. This one goes into these publications are really good. Rajaya, you will know for sure. They are all research papers bundled together. And this one talks about Dravidian languages, but without any training on the phonetics part, you won't be able to understand any of this. That's why I found it very useful to know the IPA stuff. And there are equivalent books of in the same series for Indo-European as well.
This book is fairly. I have gone through parts of it, some of the chapters. Glad to make that available. Although it is copyrighted, I can distribute it to limited number of people. The US law permits me to distribute to my class because that's the license I have via my university. So if I were to treat you guys as a class, I could distribute it, but with the request that you don't redistribute it. That would be the way. So I've downloaded several of those chapters. It's fairly not very deep in my opinion. Worthwhile looking at Krishnamurti's book, which is here, which
the green one, yeah.
He sort of makes fun of Tolkappir. You might have seen this book, right?
Yeah.
That is an important book because he's a follower of Eminu. He's a student of Eminu, I think.
Right.
And so that would be an important book to consider. It's a very serious linguistic book. But they go in with the main Dravidian languages. I think Sridevi Ketava question is an important question. Tribal languages have been characterized, but not all of them. What they have done is, what are the words they use? What is the sentence structure, etc. Not the phonetic part of it. Now, Sunlirkan, I've had conversation with Toda people because I went to school in Ooty. They have a lot of aspirated sounds like ish sounds. And of course, it's absent in Tamil, but it is present in Toda language. So their phonetic structure is very different. Has there been a comparative study of tribal languages, of South Indian languages? No. There are Linguistic Society of India have done simple languages, one or two of the major ones, like Koranga has been done, Toda has been done, but comparative study has not been done. It's a totally open territory. And my thesis is some of the ancient Dravidian languages' properties are there because they've been less influenced by others. The Tamil language you and I speak, and what is Sangam literature and what is in all literature, Tamil literature, is the elite version of Tamil, not the common man's language. For common man's language, we have to go to the tribal languages, in my opinion. And a study of them is one of the recommendations I made to Balaya in the conference that I was invited to give. My recommendation is dig into tribal languages, leave alone Tamil, literary Tamil. There's enough done that is lacking attention, complete attention. So there are, I think Sridevi's question is a very important question. I feel the same way.
Actually, if you
Even
look at
Telugu,
the backs,
Kannadam also they are also well-established languages, right? Like Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, Telugu.
Oh, these are all literary languages. These are the elite languages because they have grammar and all of that. But for example, the term gender we discussed last time, right? Sridevi took that up. Tamil has natural grammar, gender, right? On the other hand, tribal languages may not have gender at all. ஆனா நம்ம colloquial தமிழ்ல உங்க மகள் எப்படி இருக்கா அது நல்லா தான் இருக்குது அது is right.
Yeah.
There is no gender. So my thesis is tribal languages gender may not be present. I do not know for this. I'm just guessing, hypothesis. And that may be natural in an ancient language. As languages evolve, gender enters. So gender, male, female distinction, aval, vandal, avan, vandan, becomes part of the evolved Tamil, not in the early language, early Tamil that was spoken 5,000 years ago. Maybe. And where
அது
does
மருவி கூட வந்துக்கலாம் இல்லையா? நீங்க அது பெண்ணுக்கு ஆணுக்கும் அதுன்னு பயன்படுத்துறது it could be மருவி வந்து சொல்லா கூட இருக்கலாம். இன்னொரு ஒரு பாயிண்ட் நான் I want to make it. Sanskrit for a long time was not a written language. It's orally recited and from generation to generation copied without written form. Isn't it? Can you comment on that? Anybody?
Oh, the Sanskrit, what we get from Rig Veda is the ritualistic language, meaning what was used to pray to God, not what they spoke. And Vedic Sanskrit and Panini's cantos are day and night. They are not chain. They are very different.
Right.
Panini Sanskrit is the one that is developed for literary to write, not for spoken. So spoken version of Sanskrit, we do not quite know. And earlier there was a comment made about Japanese and Buddhist monks. Buddhist monks on purpose before 3rd, 4th century did not use Sanskrit because that is what the language of the barbarians they thought. So they wrote in Pali, their own language. And it's only after the 3rd, 4th century they started adopting Sanskrit in their literature. But all ancient Buddhist Dhammapada is in Pali. It is
It's
not
Pali.
in Sanskrit.
Yes, correct.
So Pali was their holy language, if you will. They avoided Sanskrit because they thought, because at that time, the Sanskrit speaking Vedic people would slaughter animals for their prayer, right? Ashwamedha is something that you would know of. They thought that was too cruel and they didn't. So the rise of Buddhism, rise of Jainism is actually anti-Vedic, that is according to some scholars. And so they had their own language, which is the Pali, which is a Central Asian language too, which has similarities, but it is not Sanskrit per se, right? Like 3rd century
Yeah.
Dhammapada is written in Pali, it is not in Sanskrit.
Yeah, I think
When we are,
after the introduction of Abrahamic religions, we have sort of tended towards the notion of theistic versus non-theistic in the religious segments. But in the Indian subcontinent, it has always been the central point is always Vedic. Either you are with them or without them. Vaidiham, Avaidiham. That has been the central theme. It's not really you believe in God or not believe in God. That has I think it's a later addition to the tradition because that comes from European influence. In the older Indian traditions, there has been non-believers even in the older traditions, and it doesn't need to be something later added.
Ajivikas.
Right.
Gotcha.
I was about
That
to
will-
one
Is
thing,
contemporary of Buddha.
sorry for the interruption. Since we talked about Tamil and Sanskrit, Sanskrit means one language is made up or formed or created.
Refined.
Why Sanskrit speakers as a mother tongue is so few? Maybe they say 10,000 or something like that. Then why it's considered as the mother of Indo-European language? Or so
No.
how the
It's not
evolution?
considered a mother. Only some people think it is. It is not.
So what is the deal? Why it's so few people are talking? Was it once upon a time a lot of people were talking and it has narrowed down, or what is the deal about that?
You should listen.
Deva
To,
Bhasha.
yeah, you should listen to
Deva
Peggy
Bhasha.
Mohan.
Deva மட்டும் பேசிக்கோ.
Yeah, Peggy Mohan's thesis is what is convincing to me that yes, the Sanskrit speakers came into India, but their children were not immigrants, right? They were mix of native Indians and the incoming Aryan tribes. So they, the language started to get influenced by both their mothers and their fathers. And over time, Sanskrit just disappeared. People just started to speak in their variant of the mother tongue, which is not Sanskrit. That
Vedic
Indo-European
Sanskrit.
language evolved from that. Not Vedic Sanskrit. In fact, I don't
Early
even want to
version
call
of
it Vedic Santas, right? That's what they call it. Vedic Santas. Sanskrit is, the name says refined language. Vedic was not a refined language. It's a natural language.
That's why, I mean, see, going a step further, so the skeleton was that of the mother language, and the words were imported from the incoming father's language. That is her primary thesis right through her book.
Right.
That's why Punjabi is
Accepting
closer to language X than Tamil is.
Hey, what time is it in India now? 11:30?
Mama is in
பாமா
sleep mode.
தூங்குறாங்கன்னா 11:30 அர்த்தம்.
It's
அவங்க
Saturday.
ஒண்ணுமே
It's okay,
சொல்லல
Bama.
பாத்தீங்களா?
என்னங்க
It's
பாமா
Saturday.
ஒண்ணுமே சொல்லல, அவ தூக்கம்.
வந்துச்சு ஆனா
So it's a very good discussion. A lot of thought-provoking discussion. Thank you, Mr. Vahees.
Yeah, thank you, Vahees. Yeah, I was going to tell you, Vahees, your name, I think it is a variant of Tirunavukarasar's name.
Yes.
Walk Eason. Walk is a Sanskrit. So it was Walkeesan. Okay. But you Tamilized it with Vaheesan. That is not how Sanskrit would pronounce it. It is Walkeesan.
My name is Tirunavukarasa. People are butchering in this country, so cut short to Arasu.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Tirunavukarasa. Yeah, Tirunavukarasa is the name, full name. Father's name as a family name. He kept Chalaya as a father's name. So.
Okay.
Yeah, the book that I showed you is very interesting. I mean, I also learned that in the later periods, the Chola period, a lot of Sanskritization and Grandham mix has happened. So, we nowadays say that starting anything with Rakaram is wrong. But there are, I think, Otta Kutarna பாட்டோ ஏதோ ஒரு பாட்டில் ராவில் நிறைய பாட்டு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணதுன்னு சொல்லி ஒரு கோட்டேஷன் பார்த்த மாதிரி இருக்கு. Yeah, so it depends on where you really want to place your marker on and then start analyzing it. So that's something that to be always be careful about when we get into all these debates. It is time bound. Yeah.
Agreed. Archaeology, linguistic archaeology.
So,
Yeah.
so every language has been fluid one time until it has been learned by the elite people. So Sanskrit also was oral one time until its grammar was formed. So Tamil also was. So tribal languages are also fluid until more people learn that language and they make it as a standardized form. So it will be fluid. Can we take it that in that sense?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement.
Yeah. The question you may want to think about it is, what other language has a grammar book that was written 2,500 years ago?
Right.
Try to find an answer to that.
For that matter,
Nothing.
Latin would have it.
We should find out. I don't think
Yeah.
so. I don't think so. But something worth
All language.
ஆனா
Yeah.
அப்ப நீங்க இன்னொரு பாயிண்ட் சொன்னீங்களையா, அவங்க வந்து எதுக்கு தொல்காப்பியம் எழுதியிருப்பாங்கன்னா மைக்ரேஷன்ஸ் நிறைய நடந்திருக்கும், இது தமிழ்ல நீ இப்படிதான் படிக்கணும்னு சொல்றதுக்கு. அப்ப அதுக்கு வந்து ரீசனா இருக்கணும்னா
So here is how the linguistic literature speaks about this, right? So one is the descriptive grammar and the other one is prescriptive grammar. So descriptive grammar in most of the languages, I think you will be able to find. But what you find in Tolkappiyam is prescriptive grammar. This is how it should be.
Correct.
So that's an evolutionary milestone, I think.
I think it's a mix of both. Whenever Tolkappiyar says Enmanar Pulovar, he is saying descriptive. Whenever he doesn't say Enmanar Pulovar, that is when he prescribes. So you need to be very careful about it. It's got both of them.
And also, when Tolkappiyam sorry to interrupt, Tolkappiyam has that sophistication of grammar. He says, Mani already mentioned the Enmanar. So there could be several textbooks, several literary works prior to Tolkappiyam.
Asiriyar.
We couldn't find
He
it.
refers to Asiriyar, right? The other important distinction about Tolkappiyam is Puruladhigaram. I mean, the grammar for poetry is specified. You won't find that. For example, Wren and Martin will be only about words and syntax for prose, not grammar for poetry. And that is also absent, by the way, in Panini. Panini is more about syntax and the language itself. So, in fact, there are insertions in Tolkappiyam also, according to some scholars, right?
Yeah. The Tepomu speaks about it. Yes.
Something to think about. Okay, it's now.
இந்த பாணினி கிராமர் வந்து டைம் பீரியட் வந்து மணியை முன்னாடி சொல்லும்போது கான்டெம்பரரி டு தொல்காப்பியம் சொன்னாரு. ஆனா நீங்க இப்ப வேதிக்கும் பாணினியும் வந்து வந்த டைம் வேற வேறன்னும் போது பாணினி வந்து இன்னும் லேட்டர் டைமா தானே இருக்கணும்.
Later time. He was a Pakistani person.
Gandhara, Afghani. The Rig Veda is probably 1500 BCE. So Panini is about 1000 years later to him.
Yeah, in fact, I think there's a very nice article, I think maybe Witzel wrote, or he takes Ramayanam and looks at the language of it, and George Hart says it is one of the lousy poetry according to him. Of course, he says very high things about Bhagavad Gita. They're 1000 years apart. Bhagavad Gita is more during Gupta period, 3rd century AD, after Panini, while Kamba Ramayanam, or not Kamba Ramayanam, I mean Valmiki Ramayana was before Panini. Okay, முடிச்சிக்கலாமா?
All right, we'll call it a day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vahees.
Very nice.
You're very welcome. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Vahees.
It's our platform.
Thank you.
So thank you, Vahees, for the presentation.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Nanji.
Nandri.